Chapter 562. Tang Minjing? Definitely not Tang Minjing. If there was anything that Tang Minjing was most proud of, the first one would be her face. Tang Minjing had an oval face, big eyes, long curly and thick eyelashes, a high nose, a small mouth, and a deep and beautiful face. Enchanting and stunning. Usually because of her confidence in her appearance, she usually did not put on makeup, at most just a thin layer of embellishment. Just like Su Qianxi now, she only put on a light layer of makeup. And this Tang Qing, heavy makeup. Her lips were painted bright red, and her big eyes were covered with 2 layers of long false eyelashes, which made them look even more exaggerated. The powder on her face made her face very, very white. The thick layer of powder made her face look a bit stiff, which made Su Qianxi slightly surprised. She thought she was Tang Minjing, but seeing such a face, Su Qianxi was slightly dazed. Faintly smiling back, Su Qianxi quickly looked away, feeling very embarrassed. So ugly. Tang Qing seemed to feel the gaze behind her, and quickly turned her head. Just when she saw her, her smile deepened, and she said something to the person next to her. Then she stood up and walked toward the back. Su Qianxi felt that this Tang Qing was a bit familiar, and she must have seen her somewhere. However, she just could not remember. Just as she was thinking, Li Jinnan touched her. Su Qianxi looked up with some confusion. At a glance, she saw Tang Qing standing on the side with a sexy figure. Tang Qing smiled at Su Qianxi and said, "You are Mr. Su of LS? Nice to meet you. My name is Tang Qing, the general manager of TL." Su Qianxi stood up and stood in front of Tang Qing, suddenly feeling like a bean sprout. She was 165 centimeters tall, weighed 94 pounds, and her figure. Her breasts were not small. After giving birth, she would have a C-cup. At this moment, she was wearing a green off-shoulder evening dress, which made her look like a good woman, fresh and artistic, but not losing the solemnity of a formal occasion. Tang Qing was not tall, but combined with her figure, she looked much more voluptuous and tall than Su Qianxi. The sapphire blue floor-length dress was covered with dazzling sequins. Under the light, the lines were even more S-shaped, hot enough to make people's blood boil. The deep cleavage stimulated Su Qianxi's eyes, and she couldn't help but look down. Even a woman like her had such a reaction. Su Qianxi couldn't help but look down. She saw that Li Jinnan was looking straight ahead as he sat to the side. He was looking straight ahead, neat and handsome. Seeming to feel her gaze, he faintly raised his eyebrows and seemed to be asking her, "What?" Su Qianxi shook her head, looked at Tang Qing again, and reached out to her. "Hello, I am Su Qianxi." Tang Qing also put her hand on it and smiled. "I've heard a lot about you, but TL is determined to win Godalming County." "Me too," Su Qianxi said politely. Inadvertently, her eyes fell on the back of her hand and arm. On Tang Qing's arm, there was a faint scar. It looked like it had been there for a while, wrinkled and slightly red. With the concealer, it did not look so serious. However, Su Qianxi once had such a scar on her face, and she recognized it at a glance. It was a burn. Chapter 563. Noticing Su Qianxi's gaze, Tang Qing twisted her hand slightly and quickly took it back. She said, "I hope we can cooperate in the future." "Excuse me." Su Qianxi nodded slightly, watched her go away, and then sat down. She whispered to Li Jinnan, "This woman has a burn on her hand, and it seems to be at least 3 or 4 years old." Li Jinnan raised his eyebrows slightly, nodded slightly, and looked very natural. Without looking back, he asked, "What are you suspecting? Do you remember what we said yesterday?" Li Jinnan didn't say another word. He looked ahead and didn't reveal any of his emotions. He began to calculate in his mind. Su Qianxi knew him. Listening to the people talking, she suddenly turned to look at the person who had just introduced Tang Qing to her and asked, "When was TL founded?" The person did not expect Su Qianxi to be so interested in this company. He was happy and told her everything he knew. It was founded about 3 years ago. The founder is Tang Qing's younger brother. That is the person above her. However, the person above her never shows up and is very low-key. TL has developed rapidly in the past 3 years. I did not expect that they could come to this kind of occasion now. But I guess they are just here to watch the fun. As far as I know, this company does not have the strength to bid for Godalming County. 3 years. In just 3 years, it had developed so fast. The entire Kingstown, and even the whole of China. In addition to Li Xiqing, Su Qianxi had never seen anyone who could be so good, developing a small company to this point in 3 years. How could there be so many business geniuses? The scar on Tang Qing's arm, the person behind her, Su Qianxi's heartbeat suddenly accelerated. Was that so? In front of her, Tang Qing seemed to say something to the person next to her. Then she stood up and walked toward the door of the hall. Su Qianxi listened to the people next to her. But when she saw Tang Qing left, she couldn't help it. She smiled at the person next to her and said, "I'll go to the bathroom first." The person was dazed, blushed, and nodded. Okay. Su Qianxi picked up her purse and followed Tang Qing out. Tang Qing seemed to be on the phone. She walked into a remote corridor of the hotel, and her graceful figure could be seen from behind. Su Qianxi subconsciously lightened her footsteps and secretly followed her, listening to her on the phone. Tang Qing's footsteps were extremely slow. Listening to her voice, she seemed to be in a hurry. She said, "What's going on? Didn't I say not to let him run around? Hurry up and find him and feed him the medicine." It was not Tang Minjing's voice, and the tone was more coquettish than Tang Minjing's. However, she had an inexplicable intuition that this person must have something to do with what happened 3 years ago. TL's timing was also very similar. Was it just a coincidence? TL done? Li. Could the brother behind her be Li Xiqing? Could it be the husband she had been with for so many years? Su Qianxi's heart was pounding, and she continued to listen. However, Tang Qing's voice seemed to slow down, and her footsteps stopped. Chapter 564. Tang Qing quickly turned around, but there was nothing there. Frowning, Tang Qing was a little puzzled. Strange, was it an illusion? She clearly felt that someone was following her. A hurried voice came over the phone. "What? Miss Tang, what should we do now? It will happen soon. What if he runs out and gets caught?" Tang Qing looked dignified and said in a deep voice, "Don't worry. Go to the places where he might go, and look for him on the way out. He has not escaped for so many years, and now he can't go far. We must catch him." "Yes." Hanging up the phone, Tang Qing turned back. However, she felt something was wrong, especially when she passed by a room. That feeling was more obvious. Tang Qing walked to the door of the room, reached out and knocked on the door, but there was no response. A waiter came over with a glass of wine and saw Tang Qing wandering at the door. He asked, "Hello, miss. How can I help you?" Tang Qing smiled, shook her head and walked away. Hearing the voice outside was gone, Su Qianxi breathed a sigh of relief, and her body became soft. But then, she realized her current state, and reached out to hit the man who suddenly attacked her. But before she hit him, she was caught by a big hand. There was no light in the room. It was very, very dark, and she could not see her fingers. Su Qianxi struggled hard, but the man not only did not let go, but wrapped his hands around her waist, and his movements were wanton. All of a sudden, she was flustered. Su Qianxi struggled harder, opened her mouth, and bit the palm of his hand. The man quickly let go, and Su Qianxi took the opportunity to shout, "Help, help! Ah!" Before Su Qianxi could shout more, she was pressed on the bed. In the darkness, there was only the sound of her panicked breathing and the man's panting. Su Qianxi was shocked and cried, "Help!" However, the man obviously did not give her a chance to ask for help again. Holding her down, his big hand pinched her chin and sealed her lips. Su Qianxi's tears came out, and her heart was full of panic. Was she out of the tiger's mouth first, and then into the wolf's den? Struggling with all her strength, she bit the man's lips. In an instant, the sweet smell of blood filled their mouths. The man on top of Su Qianxi seemed to smile. Holding her up with his knee, he said viciously, "I told you, you are so wild. It is easy to arouse men's desire to conquer you, Mr. Su. It was that hooligan from a few days ago." Su Qianxi panicked. This person was no less skilled than Li Jinnan. She had been learning from Li Jinnan for so long, but she had never been able to take advantage of him. This man was the same. That day in the parking lot, she already knew that she was no match for this man. Could it be that today thinking of this, she struggled and sobbed, crying, "You can't touch me. You just want money. I will give you as much as you want. Please don't touch me." Chapter 565. Hearing this, Su Qianxi was even more confused about what he meant. Before she spoke, she felt her neck was sucked. He sucked so hard that Su Qianxi felt a stinging pain and exclaimed, "No, no, no." In the past few years, she had been clean, just to welcome Li Xiqing back and tell him that her heart had never changed. Although he was gone missing, and no one knew if he was alive or dead. But she had been consistent. Now how could she? Tears streamed down her cheeks, and she struggled even harder. But then the man got up, quickly opened the door, and closed the door. The movement was so smooth that before Su Qianxi could react, there was no movement in the room. Lying on her back, Su Qianxi blinked, and after a long while, she suddenly came back to herself. Sitting up, Su Qianxi covered her neck. She turned on the light, only to find that there was no electricity at all. What the hell? This guy even pulled out the card. Then a string in his mind stretched taut. Wiping her tears, Su Qianxi got up, took her things, and went to the bathroom to fix her clothes. The bruise on her neck was a clear indication that she had almost been violated just now. Angrily, Su Qianxi's clothes were off the shoulder and could not cover her neck at all. Such a conspicuous bruise, didn't it mean that she had cheated? Su Qianxi's eyes were red with anger, and she pursed her lips. In the end, she did not cry, went into the bathroom, put down the toilet lid, and took out the air cushion she carried with her. After a lot of layers, she barely covered a little bit. She put her hair down to cover the place, and went to the front desk on the first floor as fast as she could. She had just written down the number of the room. As soon as she went down, she said, "Help me check the XX room. Miss, do you want to book this room? This is our standard room, and the total price is 1,288 yuan. Su Qianxi was dazed and frowned. "No one booked this room?" "Yes, it is still vacant. Do you need me to book this room for you?" "No, thank you." Su Qianxi shook her head, walked back, and called Luozhan. The person on the other end of the line picked up very quickly and lazily. "Hello. Are you free? Help me check the surveillance cameras of a hotel." She told him the location. The more she thought about it, the more frustrated she felt. That be asterisk starred. If that guy dies in my hands, I'll definitely let Li Jinnan or Li Beixing have a good time with him. Let him know that the people of the Li family, even if they were just women, were not to be trifled with. What time period? 7 to 8 in the evening. Luozhan was busy with his work, and soon there was a doubtful voice. "I can't find it. It was hacked." Su Qianxi's heart sank. "What do you mean? From 6 o'clock on, the surveillance has been blank. It's obvious that it's been hacked." Luozhan also felt that he had lived for a long time and asked, "Why are you checking this?" Su Qianxi was about to answer, but she soon paused and made up an excuse to avoid it. She couldn't possibly tell him that she was dragged in here and almost raped, right? If these words were to spread out, it could be a big or small matter. Now that the surveillance camera had been hacked. Chapter 566. If this was spread, it could be big or small. Now the surveillance camera was hacked. Su Qianxi gritted her teeth, and finally felt that she could not make it public. Now to the outside world she was a widow. 3 or 4 years ago, after Li Xiqing died, she had been taking care of the 2 children and supporting the company. On Weibo and major news platforms, they were praising Su Qianxi's beauty and nobility. Although she herself didn't particularly care about these false reputations, under these glorious titles and good morals, there was the Li Corporation and the Li family hidden. Now she was bound together with the Li family and the Li family, for better or for worse. How could she make it public? She could not afford to play. Su Qianxi's face was sullen, and her heart sank to the bottom. That person, could it be that he had calculated this before provoking her? If that was the case, then there would definitely be a 3rd, 4th, 5th time. Su Qianxi suddenly felt irritated, sighed, and walked back to the original banquet hall. The auction had entered the climax. Li Jinnan noticed her absent-mindedness and did not expose her. He put down the final price. The audience was shocked. Are you sure, Mr. Li? Yes. The Li family was determined to win Godalming County. Su Qianxi felt that the noise around her was getting louder and louder, and her head was a little painful. After a while, Li Jinan called her sister-in-law. Su Qianxi looked up and looked at him with a puzzled face. I got it, but the price is a bit over the budget. How much? Li Jinan directly showed the price on the bidding machine. Su Qianxi glanced at it and found it was 5 times the original price. As expected, Su Qianxi nodded, feeling even more irritated, and her head hurt even more. She said, It doesn't matter. You deal with the rest. I am a little uncomfortable. What's wrong? Li Jinan furrowed his brows. He instinctively wanted to feel her forehead, but it didn't seem appropriate in front of so many people. Because she came out with Li Jinan, Su Qianxi did not worry about safety at all, so she did not even bring Shuangyu today. Now it was a bit troublesome. Seeing his expression, Su Qianxi smiled and said, I'm just a little annoyed. You go ahead and call me when you're done. I'll sit here for a while. Li Jinan nodded his head. Give me a moment. Li Jinan quickly walked away, and the people in the venue slowly began to disperse. Su Qianxi sat in her seat with her eyes half closed. Many people had noticed her, but few dared to talk to her. The elegance and coldness of President Su of the Li Group had long been known to the public. For so many years, because of her youth and beauty, she had attracted a lot of attention. However, this President Su not only did not associate with ordinary men, but also had a powerful female bodyguard with him. Although the female bodyguard was not around, the third young master of the Li family was not someone to be trifled with. However, it was inconvenient for men to strike up a conversation, but women did not have this taboo. Tang Qing walked over with graceful steps. She bent down and looked at her with concern. President Su. Su Qianxi was half closing her eyes and did not notice the arrival of Tang Qing. At this moment, when she was called, she opened her eyes. However, when she saw a face comparable to that of a zombie, she was scared and shivered. Chapter 567. After seeing it was Tang Qing, Su Qianxi breathed a sigh of relief. Su Qianxi's reaction not only scared herself, but also scared Tang Qing. Tang Qing's face was obviously embarrassed. She smiled and said, I just want to see what's wrong with you. Are you uncomfortable here alone? She just did not expect that it would scare her. Only Su Qianxi knew that what was more embarrassing was that she was scared by her face. Su Qianxi blushed, coughed, and said, I'm fine. Thank you, Mr. Tang. Tang Qing quickly returned to normal and nodded very gently. That's good. The awkwardness in the scene had not been resolved. Just behind Tang Qing, the 2 men following her also felt a little uncomfortable. As if nothing had happened, Tang Qing looked at Su Qianxi and said, I did not get it this time. I did not expect 3rd young Master Li to be as bold as 2nd young Master Li, offering 5 times the price. My TL is not as good as you, but next time, we will definitely be ready to compete with you, or we will have the opportunity to cooperate next time. As she spoke, she had reached out to her. Su Qianxi stood up with a smile and nodded. I am looking forward to it. Tang Qing's smile widened, and she said coquettishly, Goodbye. I'm not feeling well. I won't see you out. Take care, Mr. Tang. Tang Qing nodded and turned toward the elevator. However, as soon as she turned around, the smile on her face immediately collapsed. She put her hands around each other's arms. Su Qianxi. Tang Qing pressed the button of the elevator and walked in. She looked at one of the men next to her and asked, Did you find him? Not yet. I heard that he was let out by the maid. He did not bring any medicine or injection equipment. As he spoke, he looked at the time on his phone and said, He probably can't hold it anymore and is going back. Tang Qing's lips finally curved up again. The elevator stopped, and her phone rang in time. Miss Tang, I found him. His drug addiction is acting up, and he is twitching badly. He was found on the road. We coaxed him, and he couldn't help but come back. Got it. Give him the medicine, but only a little at a time. Don't let him feel too comfortable. You have to let him know the consequences of running away. It won't be good. As she spoke, she giggled. I'll be back soon. Yes, Miss Tang. After dealing with the matter, He gave the things to Su Qianxi and went to the bathroom. Standing in front of the urinal, Li Jinnan held a cigarette between his fingers. Halfway through, he heard the sound of stumbling footsteps. It sounded like the sound of high heels. Li Jinnan looked over. It was indeed a woman. Her face was flushed red as she walked over. His footsteps were a little shaky, and with a single glance, it was clear that he was completely drunk. Li Jinnan turned his head and turned sideways to cover himself. After he was done, he put the items away. He stubbed out the cigarette, ignored the woman, and walked toward the wash basin. However, the woman seemed to be unwilling to let him go. She staggered and fell onto him. Li Jinnan's eyes darkened. He couldn't dodge in time, and she fell head-on. With a look of disgust in his eyes, Li Jinnan pushed her away with a sullen face. But this woman actually reached out and hugged him tightly. Chapter 568. Brother Luoan. The strange woman, wearing a blue dress, looked very Lolita style. At first glance, he could tell that she was young. She had long hair, which was a bit messy at the moment. The long bangs were disheveled, making her small white face even more charming. Her collar was wide open, revealing the white and tender cleavage. It was not deep, and even very green, faintly revealing the fragrance of a virgin. However, such a picture was a fatal temptation for men. Unfortunately, she ran into Li Jinnan. Although Li Jinnan was born in the army and had never touched a woman in his 29 years, the genes of the Li family were very strong. Everyone in their family was not lustful, and of course Li Jinnan was the same. At this moment, there was only disgust in Li Jinnan's heart. Pushing the woman away, Li Jinnan's face was terrible, and he coldly warned, "Get out." When the girl heard this, she cried even more. She leaned over and hugged Li Jinnan's thigh with both hands. She said drunkenly, No, Brother Luoan. Don't drive me away." Li Jinnan closed his eyes and pulled her up forcefully. With a casual toss, he walked out of the room with quick steps. However, the woman behind him cried out and shouted, "Why don't you want me? I am clearly your fiancé. Why don't you want me? Why? You would rather have Yi Tsili than me." When Li Jinnan was halfway out, a man heard the shouting and looked at him with a very strange look. Li Jinnan looked straight ahead and walked toward the banquet hall where Su Qianxi was. Halfway there, she bumped into a man who looked a little effeminate. He had a trendy hairstyle and was dressed in a pink leopard suit. He had a silk scarf around his neck. His fingers were crossed, and he was wearing lipstick and makeup. With an anxious expression, he shouted, Yi Yu, get your ass out here. Oh my God. Why are you running around when you're so drunk? You're killing me. Li Jinnan heard this and raised his eyebrows. The effeminate man soon saw Li Jinnan, and his eyes lit up. He came up and asked, "Hello, handsome, have you seen a female college student in a blue dress?" His hair was dyed yellow, and his skin was very white. He was about 1.7 meters tall. Men's room. Without waiting for Sissy to finish his words, Li Jinnan only said 2 words, and walked away with his long legs. Sissy looked at his back, and bit his lower lip with an intoxicated look on his face. Oh my God, so handsome. Ouch. When Li Jinnan was far away, he suddenly remembered his business. Oh yes, the men's room. Yi Yu, get your ass out here. Li Jinnan bought a villa for himself. After sending Su Qianxi to the old house, he drove back. When she returned to the old house, it was already past 10 p.m. The children were all asleep, but old Master Li was still watching TV in the living room. 3 years and 10 months had passed, and the number of white hairs on the old man's head had increased. His pair of turbid old eyes shone with a shrewd light. However, Li Sun had always been kind to his descendants. Seeing Su Qianxi coming back, he waved at them. "Qianqian, come here." Chapter 569. I fell asleep and woke up again. Captain Li took Su Qianxi's hand and patted it. He sighed and said, "Do you know why I woke up?" Su Qianxi looked at him and slowly shook her head. The wrinkles on Captain Li's face were also much more than 3 years ago. At this moment, when he smiled, his whole face was wrinkled. "I just had a dream. I dreamed that Xiqing came back." Captain Li smiled kindly. His voice was old and dry. He put his dry hand on Su Qianxi's hand. In a pair of slightly turbid eyes, there was some sadness. He said, "Grandpa, I am sorry for you and Su Qianxi. I may not be able to come back in time to see you off. Just pretend that you never had this grandson. I'm sorry." As he spoke, Captain Li's voice became sobbing. He lowered his head with tears in his eyes. "It's been 4 years. In 2 months, Daesu and Ursa's birthdays are coming. If he is still alive, he must have come back a long time ago. But why is he not back yet?" Su Qianxi's nose was sour, and her eyes were also filled with tears. She whispered, "Grandpa, don't think so much. He will come back. It's just a matter of time. He is still alive. You have to be healthy. When he comes back, you can see him. I have a hunch that he will be back soon." Captain Li shook his head. "I know him. If he is still alive, it is impossible not to come back. He still has a wife and children. You know how much he looks forward to these 2 children. If he is really alive, it is impossible not to come back to see the children. Although sometimes he seems to be cold and indifferent to everyone, in fact, his heart is warmer than anyone else. He will not be cruel to the people he cares about. He cares about this family, but 4 years have passed. Has he ever come back?" Su Qianxi was speechless, and her throat was also sore. "I don't have much time. Over the years, you have worked hard, Qianqian. You have been supporting his company and the 2 children. I have seen it all, but Grandpa's heart aches. Grandpa, I am happy to do it." The old man took her hand and looked at her meaningfully. "You're willing to endure hardship, but do you know how much the 2 children yearn for a father?" As soon as Grandpa mentioned this, Su Qianxi knew what he wanted to say. Shaking her head, she said, "Grandpa, I don't want to find someone else. I want to wait for him to come back. I know you love Xiqing, but so many years have passed, and you are only 25 years old. Accept the fact, Qianqian, he is dead. He will not come back." Su Qianxi looked at Captain Li. The old man's hair was almost completely white. His face and spirit were clearly much older than he had been in his previous life. Much, much older. She knew what he was worried about. He was afraid that when he got old, she would have a companion and someone to rely on. That way, she wouldn't have to support herself. Li Xiqing had been brought up by him, and was his favorite grandson. But now he had to persuade his favorite grandson's wife to remarry. For the old man, wasn't this a kind of torture? However, Su Qianxi was not willing to accept his kindness. She held the old man's hand and said seriously, "Grandpa, he will come back." "Qianqian." Captain Li's voice was like a broken bell in the wind and rain, far away and swaying. "No matter how long you wait, the dead will not know, but there are still living people waiting for you. Do you know that? Chapter 570. Su Qianxi heard that and became silent. A living person? Was he talking about Lu Yihan? Indeed, for so many years, she knew exactly how Lu Yihan had treated her. She did not understand before, but since Li Xiqing disappeared, Lu Yihan's heart was almost exposed in front of her. Lu Yihan always tried to ask her out, and she always had a variety of ways to avoid it. Before that, she often went to kindergarten to pick up the 2 little guys from school, or came home to help cook, or taught the little guys to play games and read. However, the more Lu Yihan was like this, the more she did not dare to face him. It had been at least 2 months since she last saw Lu Yihan, right? Su Qianxi knew that she owed him a lot. Captain Li looked at her, sighed and said, "Forget it. You think about it yourself. I am an old man, and I will not meddle in your business." "Grandpa." Su Qianxi lowered her head and whispered. When she was about to say something, she was interrupted by Captain Li. "However, Qianqian, I have something to trouble you with." Captain Li took the cane next to him, and was about to stand up. Su Qianxi hurried forward and helped him up. "It's no trouble. Grandpa, if you need anything, just tell me. I will try my best to do it for you. Come on, help me back to the room." Captain Li walked slowly with the cane in one hand. After helping him back to the room, Captain Li took out an old-fashioned pocket watch from under the bedside cabinet, handed it to Su Qianxi, and said earnestly, "This pocket watch, please send it to the grandson of my old comrade. For so many years, I have been unable to let go of this big stone in my heart. In order to save me, my old comrade sacrificed himself to protect me. At that time, we were only in our 20s. Li Xiao was not long born, and his child was only 2 or 3 years old. Later he died. Because of the war, I did not find his body. Just a few days ago, I finally found his family. It was not easy. Su Qianxi took the pocket watch and opened it. At a glance, she saw an old black and white photo inside. Inside was a young officer, dressed in beautiful and neat clothes, and next to him sat a woman. Because the photo had changed color, it was impossible to see the faces of the man and woman clearly. This is the relic of an old comrade. Please pass it to his grandson. I have an appointment with him on the 3rd floor of the Kingstown Convention and Exhibition Center. Su Qianxi closed the pocket watch and felt it was inappropriate. She said, "Grandpa, I think it is better for you to give such an important thing to him in person. Since he is his grandson, he must be young, at most a little older than Xiqing. 30 or 40. Why don't we call him over to our house and treat him well?" "No, it's not convenient for him. He said that he was very busy with work and did not have time to come here. That's why he asked me to go to that place. I feel sorry for them." I don't have the face to ask him again. As Captain Li spoke, he glanced at Su Qianxi's face. Seeing that she seemed to be hesitating, he grabbed the pocket watch and said, "If you don't want to, then forget it. I'll go myself." Chapter 571. In a place where Su Qianxi could not see, the old man's eyes flashed with the light of calculation. The old man sighed and said, "I asked him to meet at noon tomorrow at this place." Then he took out a note from under the pillow. Su Qianxi took it and found that it was a Western restaurant, with the seat number and time written on it. 12:30 noon. After Su Qianxi agreed to meet the old man, she went back to her room and set an alarm clock for 12 o'clock noon, in case she forgot. However, when she was taking a shower, she suddenly felt like she had fallen into a trap. Such a scene seemed to be familiar to him. However, when had she experienced it before? There seemed to be a familiar picture flashing in Su Qianxi's mind, but she could not remember it. After taking a shower and drying her hair, she fell asleep. The next day, she was busy all morning. She did not think of it until her alarm clock rang. Stretching, Su Qianxi asked the secretary to wrap the pocket watch in a gift box and went to the bathroom. She picked up the BB cream and patted it on her neck to cover her hair. After making sure that no one would see it, she took the pocket watch to the place where Grandpa and the grandson of his old comrade had agreed to meet. The distance was closer than expected, and Su Qianxi arrived 10 minutes earlier. When she got to the seat, Su Qianxi ordered a glass of juice for herself and sat there waiting. About 7 or 8 minutes later, when Su Qianxi was bored and drinking the juice, she saw a blue figure coming from afar. This figure looked a little thin, was relatively tall, and had very white skin. He wore a pair of rimless glasses and wore a sapphire blue diamond-shaped checkered suit. He looked noble and handsome. At this moment, he was talking to the waiter with his head tilted. Seeing this figure, Su Qianxi's heart suddenly jumped, and she was a little surprised. Louis Han? Why was he here? Louis Han also seemed to feel her gaze, and was about to turn his head. Su Qianxi was so scared that she immediately took the menu to cover her face, feeling bitter. Damn, she couldn't be so unlucky, right? Did she not look at the almanac when she went out today? How could she meet Louis Han like this? This luck was amazing. However, what was even more unexpected was that Louis Han was led by the waiter and walking toward her. "This is private room A2, please take a seat." "Thank you." Louis Han sat down and smiled politely at the waitress. Su Qianxi put down the menu annoyed and asked, "Why are you here?" Louis Han looked at her in surprise and said, "Grandpa said you had something for me and asked me to come. Didn't you ask me to come?" Su Qianxi was speechless. My goodness, I was tricked by my grandfather again. Su Qianxi leaned back in the chair, threw the menu away, and leaned on the table. Seeing her reaction, Louis Han could guess what it was. Unconsciously licking his lips, Louis Han took the menu and asked, "Should I order for you?" Su Qianxi took a deep breath. "Ihan, I want a vegetable salad, sirloin steak, and cream of black truffle mushroom soup. 2 of each." Oh, and a strawberry ice cream. Serve it after the meal. Yes, sir. Anything else to add? Lu Yihan looked at her and asked. Su Qianxi took a sip of juice and shook her head. Chapter 572. Lu Yihan folded the menu and handed it to the waiter, smiling. That's it. Thank you. The waiter was dazzled by his smile, blushed slightly, took the menu, and quickly left. Su Qianxi bit the straw and felt a little embarrassed. Grandpa was really, in the past, when he tried to match her with Li Xiqing, she had nothing to say. But why was he trying to match her with Lu Yihan now? Wasn't this a trap? If Li Xiqing came back, Su Qianxi's heart was bitter. Her eyes slightly lowered. She let go of the straw and moved her lips. Yihan. Qianqian. Both of them spoke at the same time, and both of them were dazed at the same time. All of a sudden, the atmosphere became even more awkward. Su Qianxi did not know how to face him. Somewhat distressed, she lowered her head and said, Yihan, today didn't you say you have something for me? Lu Yihan interrupted her words. In a pair of clean and clear eyes, there was tenderness. However, under the eyes that Su Qianxi could not see, there was also unspeakable frustration and injury. Su Qianxi was interrupted and swallowed all the words back into her stomach. Lu Yihan curled his lips and said with a bit of a tease, Is this also a lie to me? Also, when did she lie to him? Su Qianxi glared at him, took out the pocket watch that had just been specially packaged in a gift box from her bag, and handed it to him. Such a scene was completely seen by a pair of eyes not far away. In a corner that very few people went to, a tall figure was sitting quietly. Wearing a big pair of sunglasses and a dark cap, he stared at the gift box that Su Qianxi handed to Lu Yihan. His hand on the armrest suddenly tightened. He got up and walked into the restaurant. Lu Yihan saw the gift box packaging. His eyes slightly brightened, and he couldn't help being surprised and excited. A gift. Lu Yihan couldn't wait to take it and opened the lid. At a glance, he saw the pocket watch in the gift box. The pocket watch looked very old. Opening the pocket watch, there was an old black and white photo inside. This is. My grandpa said that this was your grandpa. When they were young, they were still fighting. Your grandpa was his old comrade. This is the only thing left by your grandpa. Su Qianxi began to wonder if even this was fake. How come she never knew that Lu Yihan had a grandfather who died in the war? Lu Yihan stared at the old photo on the pocket watch for a long while, then smiled and nodded. This is indeed my grandmother, but I have never seen my grandfather. My grandmother told me that he was a hero and died in the war. Feeling a bit embarrassed, Su Qianxi nodded. So this is the surprise grandpa mentioned. Lu Yihan shook the pocket watch, and the smile on his face grew wider. It's really a surprise. Thank Grandpa for me. So what Grandpa said was true. She had thought that her grandfather was lying to her. Lu Yihan carefully put the pocket watch back into the gift box and put it aside. Just as he was about to speak, a waiter walked over with a tray with a glass of juice on it. Chapter 573. Walala. A full glass of orange juice was splashed on Lu Yihan. His originally elegant and beautiful royal blue suit was suddenly soaked. At the same time, there was the sound of children playing with marbles. Lu Yihan stood up and looked at himself incredulously. The waitress exclaimed and was shocked. She quickly went to Lu Yihan's table and opened the tissue. She apologized in horror and helped him wipe. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to. It's okay. I'll do it myself. Lu Yihan gently pushed the waitress away and took out his handkerchief. Su Qianxi looked down and saw a transparent marble rolling on the ground, and it quickly went under the table. Raising his head, he looked around and saw a tall and straight figure, wearing a large dark cap and a large pair of sunglasses that could cover 2/3 of his face. He was playing with a marble in his hand, tossing it up and down in his palm. Seeming to feel Su Qianxi's gaze, he also turned his head. There was enough light during the day, and she saw a blue diamond cross earring on his earlobe. Because of the light during the day, Su Qianxi could clearly see that under his hat, there was flaxen hair covering most of his ears. The color of his lips was extremely light, so light that even the lip line could not be seen clearly. At this moment, Seeing her gaze, he put the marble in his hand in front of her, with a provocative smile on his lips. Su Qianxi recognized him at a glance. Wasn't this the man who molested her in the dark parking lot that day, and in the room of the Royal Hotel that night? You. Su Qianxi was a little angry. Shuangyu. The man was startled. He was not far from the door. At this moment he turned and ran. Shuangyu, catch that guy. Shuangyu had been waiting not far away. Seeing the place where Su Qianxi's hand was pointing, she immediately chased after him. Su Qianxi also picked up her bag and ran toward the door. Lu Yihan was a little shocked. Why was Su Qianxi so restless? After all these years, she should have matured quite a bit. The current her was a little too restless. What could be more important than his current state? Lu Yihan looked hurt and asked, Qianqian, where are you going? I'll be back in a bit, Su Qianxi said and walked out the door. Annoyed, Lu Yihan called his assistant to send him a set of clothes and went into the bathroom. The mysterious man who caused all this stood in the corner outside and looked at Lu Yihan inside. His eyes under the sunglasses were sharp and bright, with a bit of coldness. Shuangyu and Su Qianxi looked around. Suddenly, Su Qianxi saw him near the restaurant and asked Shuangyu to approach him quietly. When Shuangyu got the order and pretended to walk over unintentionally, the man suddenly turned his head and nodded slightly at them. Then he turned and ran. However, although this man was running, he still looked like he was taking a stroll in the park, leisurely and contented. From time to time, he would turn his head to look at them, as if he was deliberately teasing them. Shuangyu was annoyed and moved faster. But the man also ran faster and faster. Suddenly he stopped and threw something at Shuangyu. Chapter 574. Shuangyu dodged and chased him again. The man had already entered the elevator. Facing her, he put 2 fingers together and gently waved on the side of his forehead. When Shuangyu arrived, the elevator door had closed, and she could not catch up. Su Qianxi picked up the thing he had thrown and frowned. This was a pendant. There was a chain on the pendant, and the workmanship was very fine. The shape of the pendant was in the shape of a flame, with a wolf's head on it. On the neck of the wolf's head, there was a star inlaid with a blue gem. It was very valuable, and what made Su Qianxi most surprised was not its value, but this pattern. Wasn't this pattern drawn by Tang Minjing in her mother's diary? How could it be? Did this thing belong to Tang Minjing? However, this person had harassed her again and again. What did he mean by throwing this necklace? What did he want to express? Did he want to show that he had something to do with Tang Minjing? Or perhaps he was trying to explain something else? Su Qianxi looked at this necklace for a long while. Looking up, she saw Shuangyu turn around and use sign language to ask, Do you still want to chase? Su Qianxi slowly shook her head. Let's go back. Yihan is still waiting for us. Putting the necklace away, Su Qianxi walked into the dining room. Sitting in the original position, Lu Yihan came back after about 10 minutes. He had changed his clothes. The atmosphere was a bit awkward. During the meal, Su Qianxi and Lu Yihan did not eat much. Just when Su Qianxi was eating the last ice cream, Lu Yihan said, Qianqian, in a few days, it is our company's 5th anniversary. You are a major shareholder. I'm afraid there is no time. Su Qianxi bit the spoon and interrupted him before he finished. I have been developing a new project recently, and am very busy. My uncle is not very familiar with this aspect, and is not very interested, so. Lu Yihan was silent. LS company had been supported by Su Qianxi and Li Jinnan for so many years. Who was the main force? Lu Yihan was not very clear. However, in the past few years, LS had gone from the crisis of bankruptcy to the current prosperity, which was no less than the peak period when Li Xiqing was there. This definitely had something to do with Su Qianxi. I know our company isn't big right now, but very impressive. In just a few years, your reputation has spread throughout the circle. Now who doesn't know you, Boss Lu? But I am really busy. If I have time, I will go, Yihan. All right. Lu Yihan smiled and looked down. Then I will wait for you. After the meal, the two of them went down to the underground parking lot and looked at each other in silence. When they were about to part ways, Lu Yihan suddenly stopped her. She turned around and looked at him. Lu Yihan smiled gently and looked at her deeply with his amorous eyes under his rimless glasses. You don't have to avoid me like this. Can't we be the same as before? You are still Chanqian, and I am still Lu Yihan. Can't we get along like we used to when Li Xiqing was alive? Hearing that, Su Qianxi blinked. Shaking her head slowly, she said in a low voice, Yihan, he is gone, so everything is different. You know, everything is different. Chapter 575. Goodbye. Goodbye. It was an ordinary farewell. However, the moment Lu Yihan turned around, his eyes suddenly became hot. Goodbye, it was different. You know, everything was different. Back in the car, Lu Yihan sat in silence for a long time. Seeing Su Qianxi's car driving away, he also stared at that place for a long time. After a long while, he fell on the steering wheel. This car had been with him for more than 4 years. Now, no matter how successful the company was, no matter how much personal assets he had, Lu Yihan had never thought of replacing her. He was reluctant to do so. He just wanted to protect her carefully and not let her get hurt. Was this really wrong? Stroking the steering wheel in front of him, Lu Yihan smiled bitterly. It's time to say goodbye, old man. After that, Lu Yihan started his red Renault and slowly moved forward. Lu Yihan and Su Qianxi did not notice that in a hidden corner of the parking lot, a white sports car had been parked for a long time. Sitting in it, wasn't it the man that Su Qianxi had just chased? With one hand on the window, he gazed into the distance. Suddenly, a flustered voice came from the blue earring on his earlobe. Come back quickly. She's coming back soon. Reaching out and pressing the blue diamond, the white sports car suddenly started and rushed away. After Su Qianxi came out of the restaurant, she did not directly go back to the company but went home. When Captain Li saw her coming back, he felt a little guilty. Stretching, he patted his leg and said, Oh, I'm tired. I'm going to take a break. Su Qianxi was speechless, feeling angry and amused. She simply kept a straight face, ignored him, and went straight into the room. Taking out the diary of her mother, Su Qianxi opened the label and saw a logo on the page. It was a flame in the shape of a wolf's head, with a star in the center. The lines were clear and were drawn with a colorful pen. She picked up the necklace. The two were exactly the same. The wolf's head was blue, the flame was orange-red, and the star was a sapphire. Su Qianxi was sure that the person who had been harassing her was Tang Minjing's man. However, Tang Minjing had disappeared with Li Xiqing, Bo Xiao, and Rong Anna for so long. Why did she not show up when she suddenly came back? What was their purpose? Su Qianxi's heart suddenly skipped a beat. She stood up and hurried out the door. When she saw Nanny Rong, she immediately asked, Where's the baby? Nanny Rong was startled by her anxiousness. He's playing in the backyard. Li Jianyue held a little rabbit in her arms and stuffed a carrot into the rabbit's mouth. Li Jianxian couldn't stand it anymore. He turned his head away and played games on his iPad. Li Mosen took her hand away and said, If you stuff it like this, the bunny will hate you. Ah, Li Jianyue was shocked. I just want it to be full. Why does it hate me? Think about it. You don't want to eat anything, but if I keep stuffing a carrot into your mouth, will you hate me? Chapter 576. Li Mosen blushed and pulled her. It's nothing. Your brother is much better than me. Li Jianrui glanced at Li Jianxian, snorted and said, My brother is not good. Desu is an idiot, stupid and dirty. Li Jianxian bowed his head to play the game and turned a deaf ear. Such an attitude made Li Jianrui angry. She puffed up her face, put her hands on her hips, and ran to Li Jianxian and shouted, Desu is an idiot, Desu is stupid, Desu is dirty. Li Jianxian was killed in the game, shouted, and then rolled on the ground with his head in his hands. Li Jianrui was happy and laughed. Idiot, idiot. Go away, I'm playing the game. Li Jianxian got up and continued to fight. It's all because of this group of teammates. They made me fall. Li Jianrui didn't really understand. She squatted down and watched him play. Seeing him shooting arrows, she blinked her doll-like big eyes and said, Brother, can you let me play? No, you go play with Mosen. Li Jianrui was angry, stood up and stamped her feet. Stingy Desu. Su Qianxi walked very quickly to the backyard. After seeing that the three children were safe and sound, she quietly breathed a sigh of relief. The bodyguards were in several places in the backyard, so there was no need to worry about safety. Li Jianrui saw Su Qianxi coming over, and immediately pouted. Her little face was red, her cheeks puffed up, and her eyes narrowed. Tears suddenly gushed out. She cried and rushed to her mother, shouting, "Mom!" Su Qianxi saw her like this, squatted down and hugged her, reaching out to wipe her tears. Her heart was broken, and she comforted. "What's wrong with Ursu? Brother bullied me." Li Jianrui pointed to Li Jianxian, who was obsessed with playing the game, and her little face was angry. "He refused to let me play the game. Stingy, I don't want to talk to him anymore." Su Qianxi smiled, walked over with her in her arms, and squatted down to watch Li Jianxian play the game. She just saw the word victory appear on it. Li Jianxian cheered and laughed loudly. "Mom, look, I won." Su Qianxi recognized it at a glance. This was an online game that had been popular for many years. Luo Zhan used to be so obsessed with it that he was in his 30s and did not even have a girlfriend. This kind of game, who taught you to play? It's simply 666. She had played for a period of time before, but she was killed before she could cross over. After playing for 2 days, she felt bored. "Uncle Luo Zhan taught me how to play. It's really fun. My sister also wants to play. Why don't you play with her?" Su Qianxi coaxed. "No way. My sister is so stupid. I don't want her." Li Jianxian spoke rudely. Li Jianyue pouted and cried loudly. "Mom, Desu always calls me stupid." The bodyguards on the side couldn't help but laugh when they saw this scene. This little girl, she had been scolded for being stupid for the whole day, but she didn't even cry once. Why was he crying so much in front of Su Qianxi? Su Qianxi didn't know. She wiped her tears and said, "Why don't you play with Brother Mosen? Let brother play alone. If you don't play with him, you play with Brother Mosen. Let Brother Mosen ignore your brother." Chapter 577. Li Jianyue made a face at Li Jianxian. However, Li Jianxian ignored her. Li Jianyue felt even more wronged. She got out of Su Qianxi's arms and went to play with Li Mosen. Su Qianxi looked at them and smiled. Desu was like his father, smart and precocious. Although Ursu loved to act coquettishly, she was also very sensible. Although not as good as Desu, she was much smarter than many 3-year-old children. Looking at the time, it was already past 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Su Qianxi turned and walked out of the backyard. Returning to the room, she took a photo of the logo with her mobile phone and gave it to Luo Zhan. Looking for something, of course, she had to find Luo Zhan. Just when Su Qianxi took a picture of the other side of the necklace, she accidentally found that there was a small, extremely difficult to find small hidden button on the back of the necklace. Her nails gently buckled, and the spring on it opened. With a snap, a small lid was suddenly opened. There was a fine gray powder flying with the lid opened. Su Qianxi frowned and poured the small powder on the notebook. However, what was unexpected was that as soon as the fine gray powder was poured on it, it seemed to be attracted by something and automatically gathered at a spot. Su Qianxi's pupils suddenly shrank, and she poured the rest of the powder down. The powder was immediately absorbed and could not be rubbed down. Looking at the shape, it seemed to be absorbed into some words or patterns. "What is this?" Su Qianxi opened the bottom of the necklace. Under the lid, there were 2 letters. TL. Tangqing? Su Qianxi's heartbeat suddenly became faster. The rest of the powder had already been poured out by her. The 2 letters TL seemed to be showing a beautiful smile to her. This logo was Tang Minjing's and TL belonged to Tang Qing. She originally felt that Tang Qing must have something to do with Tang Minjing. It seemed that it was necessary to cooperate with TL once. She closed the notebook and took it. Su Qianxi put the necklace in her pocket. The gray powder looked like some kind of chemical. If she guessed correctly, it should be magnet powder. She sent it to the research institute, and it was really magnet powder. Su Qianxi bought some and sprinkled it on the notebook, and it quickly absorbed into a few big words. Tycoon Rich Baccarat. What does that mean? Both Monopoly and Baccarat are common gambling methods in casinos. Could there be a connection between them? Wait, a casino? She subconsciously thought of the time when she was kidnapped by Bo Xiao 4 years ago. Wasn't that place a casino? Bo Xiao and Rong Anna were trading in Star City at that time. And this clue appeared on Tang Minjing's things. Now that TL was involved in this matter, all the clues seemed to have been put together. But what was missing? What was it? She frowned and couldn't help but think of the man who threw the necklace to her. That man didn't seem to want to harm her. With his skills, it was a piece of cake for him to do anything he wanted. Although he took her money and molested her that night, he didn't do any real harm to her or the child, right? It was as if a pair of extremely pale lips had appeared in front of her, and she couldn't help but think of a word, pale. Chapter 578. TL had developed rapidly in recent years. Of course, there was a big force behind it, but the most famous thing was their architectural design. The news that LS had decided to cooperate with TL shocked half of Kingstown. Even Tang Qing felt very surprised. However, being surprised was just being surprised. How could he not do business that was delivered to his doorstep? However, what made Tang Qing even more shocked was that Su Qianxi actually talked to her in person. She asked Tang Qing to meet in Star City. In addition to Shuangyu, Su Qianxi also brought Li Jinnan's most trusted bodyguard. Special Assistant Bai followed Su Qianxi, holding a stack of documents and standing quietly behind. Su Qianxi saw Tang Qing again and was still shocked by her face. Obviously, it was a face that had undergone plastic surgery. Although she had heavy makeup, it could not hide the stiffness of her face. However, after years of training, she had long learned to speak in human language when meeting people and speak in ghost language when meeting people. The discussion with Tang Qing lasted from 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The two chatted for a long time, and Su Qianxi suddenly asked, "Do you know how to play baccarat?" Tang Qing seemed a little surprised and nodded. "A little. I didn't expect President Su to meet me here. Do you want to play baccarat with me?" "Yes, I haven't played for a long time, and my hands are itchy." "You do?" Tang Qing looked at her with a faint smile. Su Qianxi's eyes were sharp. Looking at her, she asked, "How do you know that I don't?" Tang Qing looked frank and said, "I have never heard of President Su going in and out of the casino. It is too unexpected." "Oh." Su Qianxi's voice rose slightly, and she said ambiguously, "I thought you knew me before, but I didn't expect it to be me thinking too much." Tang Qing smiled. "I used to be just an employee of a small company. Because the boss's wife was afraid that I would seduce her husband, the boss fired me." Then she looked at Su Qianxi and touched her face. "Don't look at me like this. I used to be very beautiful." Su Qianxi's heart was even more uncontrollable. Her hand under the table on her thigh slightly moved. Was this Tang Qing reminding her of something? Su Qianxi increasingly felt that this woman was Tang Minjing. But where was the evidence? Where was the evidence? Su Qianxi almost asked her directly, "Are you Tang Minjing? Where is my husband? Where did you hide him?" Shuangyu, who was behind, reached out and put his hand on her shoulder. Su Qianxi's body stiffened, and then she calmed down. Looking at Tang Qing, she smiled brightly. "You look beautiful now. But it seems that Miss Tang is not confident enough. The makeup you put on is a bit thick. If you remove some of it, you may look better. I happen to have some knowledge in this area. Why don't I help you fix it?" Tang Qing touched her face and smiled happily. "You really know how to talk, but no need. Didn't you say you want to play baccarat? Let's go." Su Qianxi did not insist. She stood up and let Tang Qing walk in front. He secretly made a gesture to Shuangyu. "Keep an eye on her." Shuangyu did not respond and kept this matter in mind. Tang Qing was also followed by an assistant and a bodyguard. Comparing the lineup of the two, Su Qianxi seemed to have the upper hand. However, she had an inexplicable sense of crisis. Chapter 579. Dealer. Without hesitation, Su Qianxi took the chips handed over by Special Assistant Bai and put them down. "So big." Tang Qing raised an eyebrow. Her hot figure attracted many people's attention. Many people were stunned. In the first round, the dealer won. The second round, the third round, the seventh round, the dealer won. Tang Qing shook her head, looked at Su Qianxi with some concern, and said with slight regret, "Why don't you bet on the dealer? Look at you losing like this. That's real money. What a pity. I can still afford to lose so little money." Su Qianxi did not feel unhappy after losing money, but smiled very brightly and asked, "How many chips do we have left?" 1 million. In such a short time, you lost 1 million. Sure enough, the Li Group is rich. Tang Qing looked envious. My small company can't afford to lose. Indeed, if TL was really as strong as it seemed on the surface, they really couldn't afford to lose. Su Qianxi looked at her, slightly raised an eyebrow, and said indifferently, "The last round, all on the dealer." Special Assistant Bai felt nervous, but she still suppressed it all. "Miss Tang, you have won so much. Play with me?" Tang Qing heard the words, smiled and nodded. "Okay, 1 million it is." Tang Qing did win a lot just now, so she did not feel it was a big deal to bet 1 million. The dealer began to deal the cards, 1 idle, 2 dealers, 3 idle and 4 dealers. The dealer had 9 points and the dealer had 7 points. Special Assistant Bai was so excited that her cheeks were slightly red. Seeing the high stack of chips, she cheered. Tang Qing's face changed slightly, and Su Qianxi raised an eyebrow and smiled. "Your luck is good. Even if you lost badly at the beginning, you still made a comeback and became the biggest winner. Don't you think so, Miss Tang?" Hearing that, Tang Qing's arms, which had been leisurely crossed, unconsciously tightened slightly. She still maintained a smile on her face, just like before. Su Qianxi saw this small movement, and her eyes narrowed. Tang Qing was unhappy. Tang Qing was pinching her arm. Although she was deliberately restraining it, the habitual movement could not be concealed. When Tang Minjing was unhappy, she liked to pinch her arm. This was a little habit she had since her last lifetime. Coincidence? Su Qianxi guessed, but at this moment, she had no time to think about it. With a bright smile on his face, he said to Assistant Bai briskly, "Assistant Bai, let's get the chips. 10 million is enough for us to treat President Tang to dinner." Then he looked at Tang Qing and said, "Pick a place. What do you want to eat?" "Whatever. Since President Su is the host, why should I choose the place? Let's have seafood then. How about it?" Su Qianxi smiled brightly. "How about a seafood feast? Only this level is worthy of President Tang. Let's go." Su Qianxi reached out and put her hand on Tang Qing's shoulder. Tang Qing was a little frightened and moved away. Seeing Su Qianxi's surprised look, he explained with a smile, "I don't like people touching my shoulder. I'm sorry." So was Tang Minjing. That was because when she was young, someone had placed a hand on her shoulder, and a caterpillar had fallen off. It was not a big deal, but Tang Minjing was traumatized at that time. Chapter 580. Su Qianxi suddenly understood and nodded. "So that's the case. I'm sorry. When I'm happy, I like to hug people. I'm really sorry." Tang Qing smiled awkwardly, unconsciously pinching her arms with a pair of crossed palms. The lines in her mind that were about to collide suddenly connected. Tang Qing, Tang Minjing. Haha. However, if Tang Qing was Tang Minjing, why did Tang Minjing want to have plastic surgery? Tang Minjing was most satisfied with her face. Coquettish, delicate and beautiful. Such a face made her the envy of everyone since she was a child. She was as proud as a peacock. But now he destroyed his own face. Although she had been the daughter of a psychopath, murderer, and economic swindler 4 years ago, and was still wanted all over the country, if it was just to hide her identity as Tang Minjing, the sacrifice was too big. With Tang Minjing's character, she would never want to do this. Then there was only one reason. That was, she was disfigured. Therefore, she had to have plastic surgery. Therefore, she had to change her face and create a new identity. However, this was just Su Qianxi's guess. Whether she was Tang Minjing or not, it was enough to feed her a meal of seafood. No matter how a person's face and identity changed, their personality, habits, and physique could never change, right? Out of Star City, Tang Qing subconsciously wanted to return to her car. At the moment when Su Qianxi was about to get in the car, she suddenly thought of something and said, "Wait, President Tang. We just did not talk about the liquidated damages. I think it is necessary to talk about it again. This is an RV. Why don't you come to my side? Such a sudden invitation not only slightly surprised Tang Qing, but also the bodyguard behind Tang Qing felt something was wrong and looked at her with some vigilance. Su Qianxi seemed to shrug helplessly and smiled. Come together. My RV is very big. I usually use it to take care of the children. Let's go together? Tang Qing exchanged a look with the bodyguard, and Su Qianxi said helplessly, Come here. Are you afraid that I will eat you? Tang Qing hesitated for a moment before slowly walking up and getting into Su Qianxi's RV with the bodyguard. The assistant got into Tang Qing's car and followed Su Qianxi's RV. This RV was very large and spacious, with the driver's seat and the front passenger seat in the front. In the back, there was a circle of folding chairs and a large red leather sofa, wide enough for an adult to lie down. After Tang Qing sat down, Su Qianxi really talked to her about the liquidated damages and the scope. Shuang Yu and Tang Qing's bodyguard sat together and said. After Su Qianxi said that, she suddenly exclaimed and said, Why is your hair messy? This is not good. With that, she took out a black hair clip from her bag and said, A girl should always be beautiful. Come, let me help you put it on. Tang Qing wanted to refuse, but Su Qianxi had put one hand on the sofa and the other on top of her head. Su Qianxi. And Tang Tang. And she. Tang Tang soon. Xiao Qing Su she. She said. Soon Su Qianxi she. She and. She. Chapter 581. It's okay. He is too nervous. Tang Qing also smiled and the car stopped. We are here. Let's get out. Well, guess first. Su Qianxi reached out. Tang Qing got out of the car with the bodyguard. Shuang Yu turned to look at Su Qianxi. Su Qianxi smiled at her, and Shuang Yu also smiled. Success! Su Qianxi got up and got out of the car. She took Tang Qing's arm and walked inside. The bodyguard frowned. Tang Qing was a little embarrassed and wanted to push Su Qianxi away. However, Su Qianxi did not seem to notice her resistance and asked the waiter to arrange a private room for them. Because there were few people, this private room was not big, so there was no bathroom in the private room. After looking around, Tang Qing felt relaxed and said, I am going to the bathroom. Su Qianxi nodded. Go ahead. The male bodyguard naturally followed. Su Qianxi said, You are going to the bathroom with me? Tang Qing smiled, but the bodyguard did not stop. After Tang Qing left, Shuang Yu also went out, standing at the door and watching them go away. The smile on Su Qianxi's face disappeared. She took out her cell phone from her bag and opened the locator app. Tang Qing's position was on it. Taking out a black earplug the size of a little finger, Su Qianxi stuffed it into her ear and covered her ears with her hair. That woman is getting more and more insidious. I haven't seen her for a few years, and she has learned how to be as cunning as Li Xiqing. It was Tang Qing's voice. Shoo. The bodyguard's voice was followed by silence. Fortunately, it is just an ordinary hair clip. You think too highly of her. This bitch is so stupid that she wouldn't think of doing anything to the hair clip. However, I guess she has already started to suspect me. She knows I can't eat seafood. How can I avoid it now? To be honest, there are many people who are allergic to seafood. How can she think that you are Tang Minjing? No, she is not that stupid. She has been staring at my hand. I think she should have found something. And what she just said, did you not hear it? Even if I fail miserably at the beginning, I'll still be the biggest winner after staking everything on the last throw. This is obviously a test and a provocation. Don't think too much. You're the biggest winner now. Even Li Xiqing can't beat you. You've beaten him like a dog these years. Who does she think she is? Hearing this, a sharp pain shot up from her chest all the way to her eyes. You are the biggest winner now. Even Li Xiqing can't beat you. I've been abused like a dog by you for the past few years. These words kept replaying in her mind. She felt a lump in her throat, and her vision was blurred. It's true, it's true. Li Xiqing was still alive. He was still alive. Although she had always believed that he had never died, when she heard the exact news, she still couldn't help but feel shocked. He wasn't dead, but what happened to him? Where was he now? What had Tang Minjing done to him? What was his current state? She knew nothing. Tang Minjing did not realize that all her secrets had been exposed to Su Qianxi. Hearing the bodyguard's words, she laughed proudly. Ha ha ha. You're right. Even Li Xiqing can't beat me. Who does she think she is? Thank you for your consolation, Wax. Chapter 582. This sentence obviously touched Tang Minjing's greatest excitement, and her laughter sounded crazy and sick. Su Qianxi felt a dull pain in her heart. She clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. Tang Minjing. Tang Minjing would never have thought that the hairpin she gave her in the car was just a camouflage, and the real trick was under her black bag. She had secretly stuck a tracking device under it. Let's go back, or she will be more suspicious. If I did not need to use her to confuse those B***cheese, do you think I would be willing to cooperate with her? I am annoyed to see her. Tang Minjing's voice was bitter and disgusted. Soon Su Qianxi heard the sound of high heels. She was back. Wiping her tears, Su Qianxi pretended to pick up the phone and put it to her ear. Tang Minjing had returned to her original appearance. Seeing Su Qianxi, she smiled. Seeing Su Qianxi on the phone, she did not say anything. Su Qianxi frowned deeper and deeper, as if she had heard extremely bad news. Okay, I see. I will be right there. See you later. Tang Minjing heard Su Qianxi's words and was overjoyed, but she pretended to be regretful and said, President Su, what's the matter? Su Qianxi hung up the phone and nodded. There is something urgent. I am afraid I can't accompany President Tang to dinner, but I come to this restaurant often. You can tell the waiter to take my order later. I am sorry. It's okay. President Su, you are too polite. Tang Minjing keenly noticed that Su Qianxi's eyes were slightly red and asked, But what is the matter? Why are you in such a hurry? You do not seem to be in a good mood. Su Qianxi shook her head, picked up her bag and said, Nothing, just a private matter. In that case, I will go first. Okay. Su Qianxi adjusted her watch and walked toward the door. Shuang Yu and the male bodyguard behind her followed, and soon left the room together. Tang Minjing and the bodyguard both breathed a sigh of relief and said, It seems that she just wants to invite me to dinner, and has not suspected me. I knew it. How could this woman think so much with her brain? If she is Li Xiqing's brother, maybe it is a little more possible. No matter what, it's good that we haven't been exposed. We still need this layer of identity to cover up. Let's go. Let's go home and play with the puppy. Tang Minjing's voice was full of pride. When she said the word puppy, she even laughed in a sick way. Su Qianxi resisted the urge to turn around and slap her, forcing herself to go back to the car. Yang was driving, and she was not in a hurry to go home. Instead, she called Luozhan. Hack my phone. Her request was simple and clear. Before Luozhan could speak, the phone was hung up. Luozhan was dumbfounded, but he quickly invaded it. At a glance, he saw a point of light moving quickly, and the surrounding lines of the buildings were very clear. The screen quickly switched to WeChat. Then Luozhan received a message from Su Qianxi. This is Tang Minjing. Li Xiqing is still alive. She locked him up. Luozhan's heart went cold when he saw this, and he didn't dare be careless in the slightest. Hearing the conversation between Tang Minjing and the bodyguard, Su Qianxi could not help trembling. Puppy, the puppy she was talking about, could it be Li Xiqing? Chapter 583. How could it be? How could it be Li Xiqing was such a proud person? How could he be treated as such a creature? This was more painful than killing him. Su Qianxi sat on the sofa, covering her mouth. She couldn't help crying, and her vision was blurred. No, impossible. If this was the case, how could he accept it? How could he accept it? She knew him. She knew him too well. But at the same time, Tang Minjing, who was his childhood friend, also knew Li Xiqing very well. She knew what kind of method could make him suffer the most painful. Just imagining it, Su Qianxi felt that she could not bear it. She wanted to see him. She wanted to see him. Tears fell uncontrollably. Su Qianxi felt like there was a big hand holding her heart tightly, making it hard for her to breathe. The dark basement was a little damp. Vaguely, there was an indescribable dark atmosphere, seeping into the air and people's hearts. It was very dark, but in the basement where there was no sunlight all year round, it was impossible to tell whether it was day or night. She couldn't even see her fingers, and it was as dark as ink. In the darkness, there was a panting sound like a beast, rapid, crazy, and painful. Sharp high-heeled shoes tapped the ground, quickly forming a brisk rhythm, and she walked in. Tang Minjing was humming a tune, obviously in a very good mood. Jing saw the gatekeeper, saw her coming and automatically took out the key, opening an iron door, and then a wooden door. After that, she opened a door with an iron railing, and Tang Minjing was able to enter. Carrying a bag, Tang Minjing came in and turned on the light that had been turned off for a long time. The basement was separated by a solid iron cage, which was a space of less than 5 square meters. There was a toilet with toiletries in it. There was a simple plug-in electric water heater, a toilet, a mirror, a towel, a cup, a toothbrush, and a shaver. Just outside the toilet, there was a single bed. The bed was very clean and simple. There was only a pillow, a quilt, and a person. Other than that, there was nothing. A man was lying on top of it, curled up into a ball, hugging his knees. His body and head were covered in sweat, and his temples and neck were bulging with blue veins due to the pain. His entire body was red, and his face was pale from the pain. Due to not being exposed to the sun all year round, his originally healthy, wheat-colored skin had now become deathly pale. Her skin was so white that it was transparent, so white that it was translucent. One could clearly see the blood vessels beneath her skin. It was beautiful and delicate to the point of being ferocious. Li Xiqing hugged himself, gasping heavily and twitching. Seeing her coming in, he stretched his hand out of the iron cage and shouted incoherently, "Give me Tang." Tisk tisk. Tang Minjing took his hand and pulled him to her chest. "Here. If you want it, I can give you anything. Do you want it? Tell me yes or no." Tang Minjing looked at Tang Minjing. Li Xiqing's hand twitched, but when it touched her soft palm, he still pulled it back. "Give me medicine." "What did you say? I didn't hear you. Louder." Tang Minjing deliberately smiled and turned to Jing Sa. "Open the door. I will go in and serve him." Chapter 584. Tang Minjing went in through the open door and threw her bag on the ground. As soon as she entered the door, she rushed at Li Xiqing, lying on top of him, and said, "Do you want it? What do you want? Tell me, do you want me? Huh? Go away." The veins on Li Xiqing's face bulged. He roared and pushed her hard with both hands. Immediately, he kicked her chest and sent her into the corner. Tang Minjing screamed and soon fell to the ground. The bodyguard who accompanied her was shocked and immediately came up to help Tang Minjing up. However, at the same time, he was furious. He went up and lifted Li Xiqing's tall body, threw him out, and stomped on his stomach. Li Xiqing was spasming, holding the bodyguard's leg, unable to resist. The bodyguard squatted down and punched Li Xiqing's pale face, cursing, "Damn it! A drug addict is still so arrogant. I will let you be arrogant." Li Xiqing screamed, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. He could only hold the bodyguard's hand and could do nothing else. "Stop!" Tang Minjing exclaimed. "If you kill him, who will do the work?" The bodyguard immediately stopped, lifted Li Xiqing up, and threw him to the corner. Li Xiqing fell to the ground and moaned. Su Qianxi heard the voice coming from the other side and burst into tears. Those voices were like sharp arrows, mercilessly piercing her heart, again and again endlessly. "Enough! Stop, stop!" Su Qianxi shrank in the corner of the bed, holding the quilt. "How could this happen? Don't do this. Call the police, yes, call the police." She now knew where Tang Minjing was. She could call the police to arrest her. She could catch her. Su Qianxi hurriedly found her cell phone. Holding the phone, she realized that her hands were shaking so badly that she could not control them at all. Fear, desperation, and anger. All the emotions were intertwined. At this moment, Su Qianxi suddenly felt at a loss. If she called the police, would Li Xiqing also go to jail for taking drugs? How could someone like Li Xiqing accept going to jail? That was even worse than killing him. But if he didn't call the police, didn't look for them, and let them abuse him? What to do, what to do? Su Qianxi's mind was blank. Staring at 110, her fingers trembling, she did not press it in the end. Li Xiqing's face and body were stained with blood, and he looked miserable. Tang Minjing looked at him, sneered, and reached out to Jing Sa. Medicine. Jing Sa took out a small transparent bag from her pocket. There was a white crystal-like object in it. Tang Minjing glanced at it and said to the bodyguard, "Hold him down. I want to ask him to take his medicine." With a cruel smile, the bodyguard went forward, pressed Li Xiqing down, and opened his mouth with one hand. Tang Minjing opened the sealed bag and poured the liquid into his mouth. Chapter 585. Tang Minjing laughed triumphantly, her voice cruel and morbid. She said, "Li Xiqing, do you know what you look like now?" Li Xiqing did not care what she said at all, holding the transparent bag and pouring it into his mouth, eagerly swallowing, eager for more and more. After pouring everything in, he leaned against the wall with his eyes squinted, trembling with pleasure and comfort. Seeing Li Xiqing like this, Tang Minjing laughed even louder. Standing up, she looked down at him and said, "Now, you are like a dog, a dead dog that anyone can step on. Do you know who I went to see today? Your President Su is amazing. She's a woman with 2 children, managing such a big company, and managing it so well. She hasn't been with a man for so many years. She's so great." Li Xiqing still did not open his eyes when he heard the words and sneered. Tang Minjing smiled, took out her cell phone, and clicked on a photo. In the photo, Su Qianxi was wearing a light green dress, looking clean and fresh. Standing with Shuangyu, she looked even more ladylike and noble. Li Xiqing saw this photo and did not react at all. "Hey, what's wrong now? You don't even want to look at your wife? That's okay. What about this one?" In the other photo, there were 2 little dolls, looking smart, especially the little girl, wearing a pink princess dress. Her facial features looked similar to Su Qianxi's. Puffing her cheeks, she was angrily talking to the little boy next to her, looking very cute. It was his daughter. His daughter. His and Su Qianxi's daughter was so beautiful. Li Xiqing's eyes softened slightly, but he quickly looked away. "Is it useful? You keep me here now. What's the difference between me and being dead?" No, there is still a difference. Our company still depends on you, Li Xiqing." Tang Minjing smiled and took out a stack of documents. "TL, Tang Group and Li Group. Have you forgotten our surnames? Come, deal with these things so that you can take the medicine tomorrow." Tang Minjing threw all the documents on him. When she was about to leave, she suddenly remembered something and said, "Oh, by the way, I signed a contract with Su Qianxi today. The TL Group under your name and the LS Group under your name have officially cooperated. Are you very happy?" Haha. "Jing Sa, bring me the computer." Jing Sa didn't say anything. She took the computer and put it on the ground. "Don't turn off the lights. Bring it to me when he's done. Oh, and remember to put the computer away." "Yes, Miss Tang." Tang Minjing glanced at him coldly, picked up the bag on the ground, and left with the bodyguard. Jing Sa stayed inside, watched them leave, and locked the door from the inside. "Mr. Li, be good. Don't make it difficult for me." Jing Sa's voice was not low, and Tang Minjing could hear it clearly. He smiled coldly and said to the bodyguard behind him, "Tell the finance department to increase Jing Sa's salary by 1/3. "Yes." Hearing Tang Minjing's footsteps going away, Li Xiqing scratched his throat and looked like he was about to throw up. "What did you make this time? It tastes awful." Although he was disgusted, his voice was very low. Chapter 586. Li Xiqing looked like he was in pain, and his voice was very low. "Improve the taste next time." Jing Sa. Li Xiqing flipped through the stack of documents brought by Tang Minjing and read them line by line. Soon his eyes fell on a document. LS Architectural Design Requirements and Needs. When Li Xiqing saw the words on it, his eyes suddenly lit up. Jing Sa had been with him here for more than 3 years. How could this little change in Li Xiqing be hidden from her eyes? What's wrong? Jing Sa leaned over and glanced at the document. Li Xiqing's lips curled up slightly. It was very light, but it clearly showed his good mood. There was a faint pain in the corner of his mouth. Li Xiqing reached out and wiped the blood off. His eyes became cold, glanced at Jing Sa, and said in a deep voice, "Do you want to go back to the police station?" "Of course." Jing Sa rolled her eyes at him. "Don't you want to go back to see your wife and children? These days, I may have to go out a little longer. You have to keep an eye on me." "What are you going to do?" Jing Sa was anxious, and her voice was very low. "Do you know that you have been going out these days? It scared me. As I said before, we can go out in half a year at most." Li Xiqing's voice was very low, and he did not look up from the document. He slowly turned a page. "When was that?" "Half a month ago." "That is 5.5 months. But now with my wife's help, we can all go out in 2 months at most." 2 months. Maybe they could make it home in time for the 2 little guys' birthdays. Thinking of this, Li Xiqing's eyes were slightly soft. Jing Sa's eyes lit up, overjoyed. Looking at Li Xiqing, she rubbed her hands excitedly. "Really?" But soon her face changed, and she asked seriously, "You went to your wife for help?" "Yes. How can you do this? Didn't we agree?" "Not exposed." Li Xiqing interrupted her, looking at her with a pair of cold eyes, with an inexplicable meaning. "Since I promised you, I will keep my promise, but the rest of the time is up to you." Jing Sa looked at him, a little surprised. "Really?" Li Xiqing ignored her and looked at the document again. He said coldly, "Guard the door." "Humph." Jing Sa glared at him, but quickly went to the door. What a joke. If others found out about their little secret, it would be terrible. Li Xiqing turned on the computer and quickly typed on the keyboard. A black screen quickly popped up, and blue, white and red codes appeared on the screen. Setting the location in Canada, Li Xiqing clicked on a small temporary station. She became more and more panicked, unable to make up her mind. Hearing the words coming from the other end, Su Qianxi leaned against the headboard, feeling lost. Holding the phone, she stared at the 3 numbers, her fingers trembling, and finally deleted it. She opened the address book and called Li Jinan. Li Jinan quickly answered the call. From the sound of his voice, he sounded very awake. "Sister-in-law." Hearing his voice, Su Qianxi immediately felt that she had found her backbone and couldn't help but burst into tears. "Brother-in-law." Chapter 587. I found him, he is still alive, still alive." Su Qianxi's voice was hurried and choked. "He is at Tang Minjing's place. He is locked up." She was already sobbing. "Brother-in-law, let's go save him. He must be in great pain." Such a proud man had been locked up in a place for more than 3 years, almost 4 years. Li Xiqing must be in great pain. And he was also taking drugs. Tang Minjing actually forced him to take drugs. Su Qianxi felt that she was about to collapse. What to do? What to do? She did not want to see Li Xiqing like this. What would Li Xiqing look like now? Stooped? Dispirited? Pale? Thin? How could he stand it? She had to save him. She had to save him. Li Jinnan's heart skipped a beat, and a pair of cold eyes flashed with disbelief. His first reaction was to ask, "Where are you?" I am at home. Where is my second brother?" Su Qianxi was already incoherent. Li Jinnan composed himself and said, "Don't worry, I will go to the old house. Wait for me." "Okay." Li Jinnan hung up the phone, took the car key, and went out the door. Su Qianxi's phone was hung up, but her heart was even emptier. Picking up the phone, Su Qianxi was also listening to the rustling sound in her ears. No, Tang Minjing was not with Li Xiqing. Su Qianxi was disappointed, but at the same time, she felt lucky. Suddenly, the phone vibrated. It was a message. Su Qianxi unlocked the phone and opened it. The words on it were frowny face L. There is a secret breach of contract loophole in the TL contract. Do not leak it when signing the contract. Su Qianxi looked at the message and was slightly dazed. How did he know about her cooperation with TL? He seemed to know her and the Li family very well, and his vision for the market was also very unique. What was even more amazing was that his vision was almost the same as Li Xiqing's. Who exactly was this fellow? Su Qianxi stared at it for a long while and replied, "Who are you?" Not surprisingly, there was no reply. Like a stone thrown into the sea, not even the slightest ripple appeared. Holding the phone for a long time, she wanted to put it down and received another reply. I will not harm you. Yes, he wouldn't harm her. But who could it be? It had always been this grayish-white avatar. The community, blogs, and information were all blank. Registration age, identity address, everything was fake. Who was it? Who was it? Endless possibilities flashed through her mind. L should be the first letter of the alphabet. Among all the people she knew, Luo Zhan, Louis Han, Li Jinnan, Li Beixing, Yu Lili, Lu Anan, and Lin Wanting could all be L. Luo Zhan, Lin Wanting, and Lu Anan could be ruled out. If Li Jinnan or Li Beixing had any ideas, they could have told them in person. Louis Han? Su Qianxi straightened up and opened the chat window with him on her cell phone. There was a hip-hop monkey with 2 rows of big white teeth smiling. Louis Han majored in IT. When he was in high school, he was already the prince of hackers. It should not be a problem for him to change his address. In addition, for so many years, he had been treating her well. Could it be? Chapter 588. Over the years, Louis Han had only dabbled in the IT field. Although the development was very fast, with Louis Han's cleverness, it was not impossible for him to develop in real estate. Could it be that he had actually dabbled in it secretly, but because of her, because of the Li family, he chose to help her silently instead of telling her directly? The more Su Qianxi thought about it, the more she felt it was possible. However, the more likely it was, the more upset she felt. For so many years, she knew better than anyone else how Louis Han had treated her. Even the people around her had begun to persuade her to make do with Louis Han. And there was no need to wait for a dead man to come back. Although Louis Han did not say anything, Su Qianxi knew that he was willing, very willing. However, how could she? The better he was to her, the more flustered she felt. She had to avoid him. Otherwise, when Li Xiqing came back, what would he think? But this L. If it was really Louis Han, then she would not be able to pay him back. Just when Su Qianxi was upset, there was a knock on the door. Su Qianxi got out of bed and opened the door. It was Li Jinnan. Li Jinnan was a bit travel-worn, wearing simple home clothes. When he saw her, he looked slightly relaxed and asked, "What's the matter? Let's talk in the living room." Su Qianxi gently pushed him and closed the door. Although Li Jinnan was Li Xiqing's younger brother, the uncle of the child and her, they were still alone. In the middle of the night, she had to avoid arousing suspicion. Li Jinnan also understood and nodded. Looking down, he found that Su Qianxi was barefoot and said, "Sister-in-law." "What?" Su Qianxi turned her head. "Shoes. No need. If my second brother sees it, he will be distressed." Su Qianxi heard that, and walked to the living room. Her voice was slightly choked, as if she was mocking. "He will not see it." Li Jinnan looked at her, and did not speak. But in the depths of his eyes, there was the deepest pity hidden. Not only his second brother, but other people would also feel distressed if they saw it. But she would never know. She would never know. Su Qianxi went to the sofa and sat down, holding the phone in her hand, slightly trembling. She opened the GPS app and played the contents of the eavesdropping. She removed the earplugs and handed them to Li Jinnan. Her big almond-shaped eyes were filled with helplessness and fear. Li Jinnan took it and pressed her down calmly. He comforted her in a low voice. "Don't panic. Calm down." She nodded and sat down. He sat down on the sofa in front of her and put the earplugs in his ears. The man's heavy breathing and painful howls, and the woman's sick and crazy laughter, made Li Jinnan's eyes turn cold. She covered her mouth and curled her legs. Her mind was filled with what Li Xiqing might do at this moment. The tall and straight figure in her memory overlapped with the Junko addiction in her memory. She couldn't imagine it. She couldn't imagine it. After Li Jinnan finished listening, it was already half an hour later. Seeing him take off the earplugs, Su Qianxi couldn't wait. She put her hands on the coffee table and looked at him. He is suffering. Tang Minjing is abusing him. Uncle, let's go find him and save him, okay? Li Jinnan looked at her and was silent for a moment. He asked, "In addition to this, what other evidence do you have? Did everyone chop their hands today?" Chapter 589. Su Qianxi was dazed and looked at him incredulously. Her voice was slightly hoarse. Isn't this evidence enough? She is calling his name, she is calling Li Xiqing. That person is him, Li Xiqing. But, how can you be sure that the woman inside is Tang Minjing? Li Jinnan looked at her, put the phone on the table, put his hands on his legs and looked at her. From beginning to end, there is no word about Tang Minjing. Tang Qing now has nothing to do with the Tang family, and there is no connection with the Li family. What about the motive? If you take this to report to the police, what if she denies it, and even accuses you? What are you going to do then? Su Qianxi paused and was speechless for a while. Despair rushed at her like a tide, beating her to the point where she couldn't fight back at all. What to do, what to do? Su Qianxi's mind at the moment was blank. How did you start to suspect Tang Qing? This woman looked normal, and her style and appearance were very different from Tang Minjing. Even he did not doubt her identity. How did Su Qianxi know? Su Qianxi told him about the mysterious man. Naturally, she automatically skipped the part where she was taken advantage of. As she spoke, she suddenly remembered Elle's words. Taking the phone, Su Qianxi opened the social media app and said, "You see, someone is helping us. This person has been helping us. If we have something on TL when we sign the contract, can we plan something else and rescue him?" Who is this? Li Jinnan took the phone and looked up. The enthusiastic netizen you mentioned before, is this Elle? Su Qianxi nodded quickly. It is this person. He has been helping me, and has always been for the good of the Li family. Although I do not know him, he will never harm us. How do you know? I have been talking to him for 4 years. Hearing Su Qianxi's words, Li Jinnan felt a bit absurd. He curled his lips coldly, and said without looking up, "What if the trap he set for 4 years is to lure you into it?" Impossible. Su Qianxi denied this possibility without thinking. He will not. Li Jinnan paused for a moment and looked up at her. Why? Why? Because that person was probably Louis Han. Anyone in the world could hurt her, but not Louis Han. Absolutely not. But facing Li Jinnan's gaze, she could not say that it was likely to be Louis Han. He shook his head slowly and said, "There is no why. This is my trust in him." Seeing Li Jinnan's suspicious look, she added, "You have to know that a woman's intuition has always been very accurate." As he spoke, Li Jinnan had already scrolled to the top of the chat log. Su Qianxi had used her phone for a long time, so she kept a lot of records. The more Li Jinnan looked at the man, the more he found his tone familiar. His eyes darkened slightly. He opened Elle's account and copied it to himself. Then he deleted the record and tossed the phone back. Let's wait and see. I'll sign the contract with TL. Chapter 590. Then, Su Qianxi seemed to think of something and stared at him. Her eyes were wet, and she said in a trembling voice, "Do you think I am lying to you, uncle?" Sister-in-law, calm down. Li Jinnan did not panic at all in the face of her questioning. Just after Su Qianxi finished the story, he already had a guess in his mind. However, this guess was just a guess, and Li Jinnan needed to verify it. At this moment, facing Su Qianxi's attitude, Li Jinnan looked as usual and whispered to her, "I believe in my brother. Sister-in-law, now there is a most direct way, that is to expose the true face of Tang Qing." Su Qianxi sat down, holding her head, and found it difficult to accept. She knew where he was, and she knew that he was suffering. But why couldn't she find him back? Why couldn't they do anything about it? Tang Minjing has been pretending to be Tang Qing for so long. It is not easy to reveal her true identity to the world. Li Jinnan looked at her, and his eyes were even more bottomless. Faintly, there was a shadow of Li Xiqing in them. He was very calm and said, "My brother has been trapped for so long. It's not easy to break through there and save him all at once. If we call the police, not to mention whether my brother can accept being in jail, maybe when the police just arrive at the door, they will transfer him. What should we do? What should we do?" Su Qianxi completely lost her mind at this moment. Hearing this, she yelled at Li Jinnan, "Are you just going to sit back and do nothing? I have been looking for him for so many years. Do you want me to give up like this?" Soon there was the sound of the door opening, and the light was turned on. Su Qianxi wiped her tears, leaned on the sofa, and did not move. Qin Shuhua and Li Xiao both came out wearing pajamas. Seeing them like this, the couple looked at each other. Qin Shuhua's face was worried, while Li Xiao's face was as calm as water, looking at this side. Li Jinnan did not seem to notice that they were behind. Looking at Su Qianxi, he said calmly, "Leave this matter to me, sister-in-law. I will give you a reply as soon as possible." "What is it?" The old man walked over with his walking stick. "It's the middle of the night, and your uncle and sister-in-law are actually quarreling?" "No." Su Qianxi sniffed and said in a nasal voice. She walked toward Grandpa and held his arm. "We didn't fight. Grandpa, let me help you back." The old man didn't go back. He looked at Li Jinan and said, "Jinan, did you make your sister-in-law angry?" Li Jinan stood up, wearing simple casual home clothes. He looked at Su Qianxi and said, "No, I just have something to discuss with my sister-in-law. Now that it's all settled, I'll go back." Ouch! Qin Shuhua's heart ached for him. She grabbed him and said, "It's so late. You should sleep at home. Your room has always been tidy. It's not a big deal." "No, I still have something to deal with. Mom, go to bed early." Li Jinan patted Qin Shuhua's hand comfortingly. He glanced at Su Qianxi before turning and walking out the door. Chapter 591. Su Qianxi choked and shook her head. It was better not to tell the elders about things that she was not sure about. If they could not save Li Xiqing, they would have to worry about him with them. Seeing her eyes swollen from crying, Qin Shuhua did not say anything. She told Su Qianxi to go to bed early, and went into the room with Li Xiao. When Li Jinan returned home, he took out the computer, logged into his social media account, and searched for L's account. Li Xiqing. Li Jinan's fingers moved quickly, and sent a short message. Li Xiqing was processing the documents, and saw the code on the computer. He clicked it and a message popped up. Frowny face Li 3. "Since you can send a message, why don't you come back?" Li Xiqing looked at the nickname, Li 3 Li San. It was really Li San's style. Li Xiqing's cold eyes were deeper. Looking at Li Jinnan's questioning words, he pursed his lips, put his fingers on the keyboard, and typed a line of words. "It's not time yet." However, after thinking about it, Li Xiqing still deleted that line of words and replied, "I'm fine. Don't worry about me." The sound of high heels came from outside. Li Xiqing's eyes narrowed and he typed Dell. The temporary desktop suddenly collapsed. On the computer desktop, there was only one unfinished document left. Tang Minjing walked in and saw Li Xiqing typing the document. She chuckled proudly. "Not bad, Jingsa. Make sure he takes his medicine on time tomorrow." "Yes, Miss Tang." Li Xiqing looked at her back, and his eyes became colder. Soon. When Li Jinan saw those words, he immediately replied, "Where are you?" No response. Li Jinan looked at the computer screen, and was silent for a long time. He took a cigarette pack on the table, took out a cigarette, and slowly lit it. Lying on the sofa, he narrowed his eyes and fell into contemplation. The signing with TL was scheduled for Friday afternoon. It was Li Jinan. Su Qianxi could not calm down in the office. She couldn't wait to know the extent of the confrontation between him and Tang Minjing. Just when she was feeling anxious, she received a call from home. Seeing the word old house, Su Qianxi adjusted her mood and picked it up. "Hello, Mom." Hearing the sweet voice, Su Qianxi's anxious heart was immediately soothed. She unconsciously smiled and responded, "Mom, great-grandpa said that tomorrow is Saturday." Li Jinyue's voice was very soft, very sweet and tender, making Su Qianxi's heart melt. Sitting on the chair, she stretched and asked softly, "What's wrong with Saturday?" Li Jinyue looked at the old man in front of her, who had a look of anticipation on his face. She said the lines that the old man had prepared for her. "Ursa wants to go to the amusement park. Daesu and Brother Mosin want to go too. Mommy will take us to the amusement park to play tomorrow, okay?" "Tomorrow?" Su Qianxi seemed to think about it. "Does Ursa want to go herself?" Li Jianyue hesitated for a moment, and looked at the old man who was instructing her. The old man was so anxious that he mouthed, "Yes, you're right." Li Jianyue looked distressed. She nodded and said, I want to go myself, but. The little girl's words made the old man anxious. He covered his face with his dry hands and couldn't bear to look at it. Chapter 592. Seeing her great-grandfather like this, Ursa was amused and said with a smile, But Desa wants to go more than I do. But he is too embarrassed to call you. So he asked me to call him. Is Ursa very obedient? Su Qianxi heard that there was something wrong with Ursa's voice, but she did not think much and chuckled. You only know how to trick your brother. It must be you who wants to go, little girl. Li Jianyue smiled and said, I did not. I am a little princess, not a little girl. So are we going tomorrow or not? Well, let's go. I haven't taken you out for a long time. Oh yeah, Li Jianyue cheered. Then let's go to the amusement park tomorrow. I will tell my brother. Bye, Mom. Bye. Su Qianxi's smile became wider and wider, and her mood suddenly became a lot better. Hanging up the phone, she looked at the phone screen and found that there was another missed call. A long-lost name, Rong Haiyue. Su Qianxi looked at this name, picked up the phone, and called Rong Haiyue back. The other side quickly picked up, and Rong Haiyue's voice sounded a bit surprised. Su Qianxi? Yes, Su Qianxi responded. What's the matter? I have arrived in Kingstown with your mother. Can I go to your house and see the two little guys? Rong Haiyue's voice was cautious and tentative, as if he was afraid of offending her. In the past few years, Rong Haiyue had always talked to her like this. Without the magnanimity of a savior or the dignity of a father, he always carefully wanted to please her and get close to her. Su Qianxi knew that he wanted her forgiveness. Hearing this, Su Qianxi pursed her lips, feeling a little guilty and distressed. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. However, before she said it, Rong Haiyue said, I bought toys for the children. Ursa should like dolls at her age, right? And Desu, I don't know what he likes, so I bought some storybooks. If it is not convenient to go home, I will go to your company and send the things to you. You can pick them up, okay? Go home. Su Qianxi felt sad and inexplicably sour. The children are at home. You and she can go there directly. I am still busy and will go back later. Rong Haiyue was overjoyed. That's great. After saying that, she seemed to realize that her reaction might be a little too loud, and her voice became a little softer. She said, Then you go ahead with your work, I'll go over there. You come back early. Yes. Then goodbye. See you later. When Rong Haiyue heard this, he suddenly felt that the world was bright. He could hear the excitement in his voice. Well, see you later. She hung up the phone and leaned against the chair exhausted. This way of getting along was so tiring. Su Qianxi still could not calm down to deal with business, so she simply piled everything together and took it home. When he got home, Rong Haiyue and Rong Xian were already at home. They were playing with new toys with the children in the living room. Seeing Su Qianxi coming in, Li Jianyue was the most excited. Holding the big Barbie doll that Rong Haiyue bought for her, she ran to her and shouted, Mom, look, Rong Haiyue bought me a doll. It's so beautiful. Su Qianxi squatted down and picked her up with a smile. She tapped her nose and said, What Rong Haiyue, call him Grandpa. Chapter 593. Call him Grandpa. The 3 words scared Rong Haiyue so much that the one-piece figurine that he gave to Li Jianxian fell to the ground. Rong Xian also looked at Su Qianxi with disbelief on her face. Li Jianxian saw it and immediately got off the sofa, picked up Zoro, and patted the dust. He was about to say something, but after seeing the subtle expressions between the adults, he swallowed his words. Seeming to have noticed their gazes, Su Qianxi also looked in their direction. There were traces of fire scars on Rong Haiyue's face and body. Because it was summer, Rong Haiyue wore a simple short-sleeved striped t-shirt, revealing the faint scars on his neck, hands, and face. Not much, and because of maintenance it had faded a lot. However, Su Qianxi knew that it was the most accurate evidence that Rong Haiyue almost lost his life for them. Seeing their eyes, Su Qianxi smiled at them and blushed slightly. Li Jianrui, who was more than 3 years old, did not notice the subtle atmosphere between the adults. Tilting her head, she said, Grandpa? But Grandpa Song is also a grandpa. Only Mom's father is called Grandpa. I already have a grandpa. So who should I call Grandpa in the future? Grandpa Song is also a grandpa. And Grandpa Rong is also a grandpa. Su Qianxi put her forehead on Li Jianrui's forehead, gently rubbed and whispered, in the future he is a grandpa, and Rong Xian is a grandma. Come call them. Li Jianrui held the doll in her hand, and turned to look at Rong Xian, and Rong Haiyue. She said in a sweet voice, Grandpa, Grandma. When Rong Haiyue heard it, he suddenly laughed, and his eyes were filled with warmth, but he quickly restrained himself. He bowed his head slightly and nodded. Good girl. Little Li Jianxian was facing Rong Haiyue. Seeing that his eyes were obviously wet, he opened his eyes and looked at him. This feeling was a bit strange. He thought that Rong Haiyue was a tough guy. He heard that he was a very powerful soldier, just like Grandpa. However, he had only seen the scene of Grandpa majestic and domineering, and had never seen Grandpa cry. Shouldn't Rong Haiyue be the same as Grandpa? Even because of the scars on Rong Haiyue's body, Li Jianxian felt that Rong Haiyue was more ruthless than Li Xiao. But now, Grandpa, Li Jianxian blinked and looked at Rong Haiyue. Are there any other models? Rong Haiyue nodded, and reached out to pick him up. His voice was obviously tinged with some relief and joy. He replied, yes. Li Jianxian never liked to be hugged, but it was obvious that he was happy. Forget it, for the sake of the figurine. He had to endure the humiliation. Su Qianxi, Rong Xian was not as tolerant as Rong Haiyue. Her tears fell, but there was a big smile on her face. Li Jianyue's eyes were full of surprise. Hey, Grandma is crying. Why? Rong Xian wiped her tears and shook her head. I'm happy. I didn't cry. Come, let me hug you. She stood up and reached out to Li Jianyue. Li Jianyue grabbed the doll and stuck her body to Rong Xian. She said, Grandma, the doll hasn't worn panties yet. I have to let her wear panties. Can you find me panties? Okay, come on, Ursa, look inside and see which one looks like a pair of underpants. Li Mosen stood at the edge of the corridor in the living room and watched from afar. His eyes were full of envy. Chapter 594. He also wanted to have a mother, grandparents, little uncles and big uncles who loved him so dearly. However, he was not expected by the world since he was born. His biological mother, just before he was 1 month old, wanted to throw him to death. This incident was spread as a joke in the orphanage, and he was laughed at by all the children. He was a monster, because he looked like a foreigner, so his biological mother wanted to throw him to death. Thinking of this, little Mosen had an inferiority complex in his heart, and the uncontrollable sadness made him at a loss. Biting his lip, Li Mosen looked over there, let go of the hand on the wall, and turned around. Mosen! Su Qianxi's voice. Li Mosen was about to leave, and looked over with some surprise. Su Qianxi's delicate face showed a gentle smile, and she was waving at him. Li Mosen ran over excitedly and shouted, Auntie, why did you come out so late? Rong Xian rebuked, and took another gift box from the side. This is for you. Open it and see if you like it. Li Mosen felt even more surprised and looked at Rong Xian incredulously. His little heart was pounding. Really, this is for me? Rong Xian nodded with a smile and reached out to rub his little head. You've grown so big. How old are you? Li Mosen looked at her, and there was a ruddy luster on his snow-white and smooth face. He said, 4.5 years old. Li Mosen was a little nervous, but more than that, there was a kind of emotion that he still couldn't understand. His heart was slightly sour, the tip of his nose was slightly astringent, and his eyes were a little hot. But Li Mosen's heart was happy. Very happy, very happy. I'm just a little older than them. Su Qianxi pulled Li Mosen over and held him at her feet. She whispered, Thank Grandma. Li Mosen held the box and looked up at Su Qianxi. The woman on top of his head was really smiling at him. So gentle, just like his mother's smile in his dream. Li Mosen felt like crying, but at this time, if he cried out, it would be too shameful. Holding back his tears, Li Mosen asked in a choked voice, Should I call her Grandma too? But, hey, Brother Mosen is crying. Li Jianyue held the doll in her arms. Her round eyes widened as if she had discovered a new continent. Is Brother Mosen crying? Li Mosen immediately pulled a long face and said, I didn't. But I clearly heard you cry. Are you crying because you don't want to call me grandma? Humph, too bad. I didn't. Li Mosen deliberately put on a straight face. But soon, a pair of blue eyes grew, looked at Rong Xian and said, Thank you, grandma. Be good. Rong Xian stroked his dark brown curly hair and pinched his face. You're so good looking, just like a doll. Grandma, I'm pretty. Li Jianyue was unhappy. She rubbed herself in Rong Xian's arms, pouted and said coquettishly, I'm prettier than Brother Mosen. The teachers in the kindergarten all say that I'm the prettiest little princess. Right, brother? Li Jianxian was playing with Luffy's hand and didn't hear what his sister was saying. Li Jianyue kicked his hand unhappily and asked, Do I look good? Yes. Li Jianxian didn't look up and said directly, Ursu is the prettiest. Dash. Chapter 595. Perfunctory. Obviously perfunctory. The adults all laughed when they heard it, but Li Jianyue still didn't understand what was wrong. Seeing the adults laughing, she was a little proud. Brother Mosen, am I the most beautiful? Yes, Ursu is the most beautiful. Li Mosen looked serious, and a pair of blue eyes looked at Li Jianyue's pink little face, shining with a strange brilliance. Li Jianyue was even happier, proudly raised her chin and snorted, and then looked at the box in Li Mosen's hand with her eyes shining. Don't you want to see what Grandma gave you? Look. Li Mosen looked at her expectant eyes and pretended to be serious with a straight face. He couldn't help but smile, put the gift box on the table, and untied the ribbon. Li Jianyue stretched her neck and looked over, and saw the dark metal luster at a glance. She blinked and asked, What is this? Li Mosen took out the things inside and found that they were small parts, and there was a big picture of a car in the middle. Assembly car? Li Mosen's eyes lit up, and he couldn't wait to open the packaging. A pile of small dark metal fell down, and Li Mosen held it in his hand, a little excited. It's really an assembly car, so beautiful. Li Jianyue held the doll and said with some disdain, What's beautiful about it? It's dark. But when Li Jianxian heard the words assembly car, his eyes immediately raised from the doll and looked over. His eyes lit up, and he immediately got down from Rong Haiyue's leg and ran up. Wow, it's really an assembly car. Li Jianxian rubbed his hands. Mosen, let's do it together. I can do it too. Okay. Li Mosen carefully put the parts back, and his face couldn't hide the joy. Li Jianyue was a little unhappy, and she pouted and struggled to get down from Rong Xian. She leaned over and said, I want to do it too. Go away, you only know how to make trouble. Li Jianxian unceremoniously threw her a contemptuous look. Li Jianyue's little face puffed up, and she took Li Mosen's hand. Brother Mosen, I want to play too. Li Mosen smiled and held her palm with his little hand. He said, Okay, let's do it together. Brother Mosen is the best. Li Jianyue smiled and snorted at Li Jianxian. She forced her way between the two of them. Seeing this, Su Qianxi couldn't help but laugh. She helped them pick up the parts and said, Let's go inside and play. Daesu, take Mosen and his sister in. Okay. Li Jianxian was a little excited, but he did not forget to put on the figurine behind him. Just like that, Li Mosen held the gift box in one hand, and Li Jianyue in the other. The little princess was also holding a doll in her arms. Li Jianxian, on the other hand, was holding a few figurines. He followed them calmly, but his pace could not hide his excitement. Watching the children jumping in, she sat at the coffee table, pressed the button to boil the water, and replaced the tea leaves. She then brewed some pu'er tea that she had recently gotten. His movements were slow and smooth, elegant and skillful. Is there anything you need to do in Kingstown this time? Su Qianxi asked without looking up as she made tea. Chapter 596. You can come often in the future. Su Qianxi used the lid of the teacup to scrape the foam. When she spoke, her hand was slightly shaking. The children were still complaining a few days ago that you did not come to see them. It just so happens that I want to learn how to shoot. Then she looked up at Rong Haiyue. Can you teach me? Of course. Rong Haiyue agreed without thinking, a little excited. Rong Xian looked at Su Qianxi, a little dazed. After 4 years, her daughter had undoubtedly grown a lot. Her cheeks, which used to be soft and round, had now lost some of their childishness, replaced by a bit of maturity and competence. Even the way she spoke and did things were impeccable. Does this mean that she accepts them? Rong Xian cried with joy, but no one said it clearly. After drinking tea and eating some snacks, Su Qianxi took an air gun and handed it to Rong Haiyue. In the vast backyard, there were rattan targets left by Li Jinnan, which had not been cleared. This air gun was also Li Jinnan's. After Su Qianxi drove the children away, she practiced with Rong Haiyue. The air gun was much lighter than a pistol and had an automatic loading function. Su Qianxi and Rong Haiyue were learning how to aim today. Rong Haiyue's marksmanship was also very famous in the army. Almost every shot was around the bull's eye, and the deviation was not big. And Su Qianxi's accuracy made Rong Haiyue laugh. With your accuracy, fortunately, there is no one behind. Otherwise, there will be an accident. It's just an air gun, not a pistol. Su Qianxi did not care much, holding the gun and aiming at the rattan targets. Li Jianxian and Li Mosin had already installed the small car. Li Jianyue was in the room, holding the doll in her left hand and holding the car in her right hand, playing with it. The 2 little boys were squatting at the door of the backyard, looking over here. The eyes of the 2 little babies were shining. The boys' love for machinery, cars, and all kinds of cold weapons was regardless of age. The 2 little things looked at the gun in Su Qianxi's hand from a distance, their eyes full of desire. Rong Haiyue had already discovered the 2 little things. He took the gun from Su Qianxi's hand and said, although the air gun is not as lethal as a pistol, this thing can also cause great damage. In the past, many hunters liked to use this kind of gun to hunt some large animals, such as wild boars and bison. If it hit a person's vital point, it could also kill them. With that, Rong Haiyue looked in the direction of the 2 little guys and warned them with a serious face. Especially children, don't touch this kind of thing. It's too dangerous. Su Qianxi then noticed that the 2 little guys were squatting there and peeking. With a smile on their lips, they glared at them. Got it, Grandpa. Li Jianxian stood up and asked. But what is the vital point? The vital parts are the most important parts of a person's body, which are also the most vulnerable parts, such as the neck, brain, and heart. If they are hit by an air gun, they will die. Rong Haiyue put the gun away and went forward to drive the 2 children away. Don't do it here. Your mother's aim is too bad. If she misses and hurts the innocent, it will not be good. Li Jianxian laughed rudely. Su Qianxi blushed and stomped her feet. How can she be so good that she can shoot at a 90 degrees angle? Li Mosin heard it, but his heart was slightly shocked, and his little heart had a greedy feeling. Chapter 597. The cooperation between TL and LS, under TL's publicity, became well known. The fact that Li Jinnan personally signed the contract also caused a sensation in the industry. Tang Qing, followed by the bodyguard, handed over the signed contract document that had been prepared a long time ago. Li Jinnan took it and looked at it carefully. In his mind, L's line of text was always reminding him, there is a secret breach of contract loophole in the TL contract. Do not leak it when signing the contract. Secret breach of contract loophole? Li Jinnan's eyes deliberately stayed on the precautions for a long time. Tang Qing stared at his eyes closely, for fear of missing any expression of his. In the end, Li Jinnan's eyes only glanced at the breach of contract. A few lines of text turned in his mind, and Li Jinnan suddenly realized. It turned out to be like this. Sure enough, it was full of Li Xiqing's style, cunning and insidious. Li Jinnan was now basically sure that L was Li Xiqing, and the person who drafted this document must be Li Xiqing. Although his heart was in turmoil, Li Jinnan's face was still calm. In the entire document, only the breach of contract stayed the shortest. Li Jinnan took out his marker pen, quickly signed, stamped it with the seal of the Li Group, and exchanged it with Tang Qing. Tang Qing also handed over the signed document. After exchanging, the two companies officially announced that they had reached a cooperation. Li Jinan and Tang Qing finally shook hands gently and nodded at each other. Just as the two were about to walk away, Li Jinan's phone rang. Tang Qing's eyes were always on him. She saw Li Jinan's face change slightly. In an instant, there was an indescribable joy on his face. He couldn't believe it and said, "You found Tang Minjing?" Tang Qing heard the words and suddenly retracted her hand. The bodyguard behind her was also shocked. He turned sideways vigilantly and walked in front of Tang Qing. However, Li Jinan did not look at Tang Qing at all. He said with a sullen face, "Be sure to find her. Whether she is in Yunnan or in Myanmar, you must catch her." Yunnan? Myanmar? Tang Qing and the bodyguard exchanged a look, and the two suddenly felt relieved. It seemed that they had mistaken her for someone else. Li Jinan gave a few more reminders before hanging up. Turning his head, he apologized to Tang Qing. "Sorry, I still have something to do. I have to go." "Yes, President Li, please." Li Jinan took a step forward and quickly walked out. Tang Minjing sneered and walked out slowly with her cat-like steps. Back home, Tang Minjing immediately went to the basement. When Jingsaw saw her coming, she took the initiative to open the door. Layer after layer, it was comparable to an iron wall. Moreover, in front of the only exit, there were 4 surveillance cameras installed. There were no blind spots at all, for bodyguards were guarding at the same time. Even if the person inside had 3 heads and 6 arms, it would be difficult for him to escape. In addition to Tang Minjing, the only one that could be mobilized here was the servant who had been with the Tang family for 5 or 6 years, Jingsaw. Tang Minjing was very satisfied with Jingsaw's understanding. She nodded and said very sympathetically, "Jingsaw, you haven't had a vacation for a long time, right? Is there a place you want to go?" Chapter 598. Tang Minjing laughed happily, nodded, and was very satisfied. "Sure enough, you have the same fun as me. I also like to train the dead dog inside. Unfortunately, I won't be able to train him for the next few days." Jingsaw was a little surprised and asked, "Miss, are you going on a business trip again?" "Yes, I have to go. I will go to Guangxi tomorrow morning for about 3 days. You have to keep an eye on him these days. Don't let him escape like last time." Jingsaw smiled coldly, and there was a fierce look on her face. She said, "That depends on him. If he doesn't come back, he can only be caught in the drug rehabilitation center. Let's see who will suffer." Tang Minjing simply loved Jingsaw's expression. She smiled proudly and walked in. Jingsaw followed her and said, "He just took the medicine, and now he is so comfortable that he fell asleep. He has been roaring and jumping just now. It's so annoying." Turning on the light, a figure lying inside seemed to sense this side. He turned his back impatiently, covered his face with a pillow, and continued to sleep. "Didn't I ask you to give him medicine on time?" Tang Minjing seemed to be a little unhappy, and her voice was a little low. Jingsaw heard this, and looked a little embarrassed. She said, "Miss, didn't you just say that you will give me a holiday? I don't want to take a holiday. These days, don't worry about how I torture him, okay?" Tang Minjing smiled and asked, "How do you want to play?" Jingsaw saw that she was really interested, and her face was a little excited. She said, "There are many ways to play." But soon, she restrained herself a little, coughed softly, and lowered her head. The smile on Tang Minjing's face was even more brilliant. She patted Jingsaw on the shoulder and said, "Keep him alive. It took me a lot of effort to pull him back from the gates of hell. Look at my face. Yes, I know what I'm doing." "That's good. I'll leave it to you, Jingsaw," Tang Minjing said sincerely, but she did not stay long and quickly turned away. Jingsaw took a deep look at the man on the bed, quickly turned off the light, and relocked the door layer by layer, guarding the door. Li Siqing got up from the bed, and a pair of cold and deep eyes shone with strong excitement. 3 days of business trip? In other words, these 3 days. Before 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, Li Jianyue excitedly ran to Su Qianxi's room. Su Qianxi was still sleeping. Li Jianyue took off the little sandals she had just put on and got into her mother's bed shouting, "Mom, Mom, Mom, get up, get up. Today we are going to the amusement park. The amusement park. Mommy, mommy, mommy. Su Qianxi was sleeping soundly and was woken up by the little guy. However, she didn't move. Just when Li Jianyue climbed onto her body, she suddenly stood up and grabbed her little shoulders. She shouted, "I caught it!" Ah! Li Jianyue screamed, but at the same time, there was a melodious and lively laughter. "Mommy monster, don't catch me. Help brother, save me." Su Qianxi held her in her arms and looked fierce. "I want to eat you, and your brother will not come to save you." "Oh, I was eaten." Li Jianyue tilted her head and fell softly, but she quickly raised her head again. She said seriously with a pink face, "Mom, you are too childish. Now that I am done playing with you, you have to take us to the amusement park." This was a special task that her great-grandfather had given her. She must complete it. Chapter 599. Su Qianxi lay on the bed lazily and did not want to move. She said, "Let Mom sleep again. Mom is sleepy." Li Jianyue blinked and lay directly on top of her. She pressed her fluffy little head against her chest and said, "Then let's sleep for a while more." Su Qianxi smiled, touched Li Jianyue's little head, and closed her eyes again. But less than 2 minutes later, the little girl shouted, "Mom, we're almost there. You can get up." "Not yet. Just a little more." "No, Mom doesn't keep her words. You can't do this." Li Jianyue reached out and grabbed her clothes, trying to pull her up, but Su Qianxi was lying motionless. The little girl's face was red. She sat on Su Qianxi's belly, puffed up her little face, and directly inserted 2 index fingers into Su Qianxi's nostrils. She said, "Get up, get up." Su Qianxi laughed. After grabbing her hand, she turned her over and slapped her little butt. "You're asking for a beating." "Ah, Mom is hitting me. Help brother, help me." Li Jianxian looked in from the outside, blinked and asked, "Mom, are you done?" "Yes, I'm done." Su Qianxi yawned, pushed Li Jianyue, and took a wet tissue from the bedside to wipe her hands. "Mom is going to brush my teeth and wash my face. Have you had breakfast?" "Yes." Li Jianyue looked proud. "Just waiting for Mom. Mom is a big lazy bug." Su Qianxi pinched her nose, got out of bed and walked into the bathroom. In the bathroom, on the sink, the things that Li Xiqing had used were still there. Because they had not been used for a long time, they looked a little pale. Su Qianxi glanced at them, took her cup, and said to the toiletries, "Good morning, Mr. Li." After washing, she opened the door and found that the room had been a mess. Li Jianxian covered his head with the quilt and stood on the bed, looking down at Li Jianyue, who was kneeling below. "Do you know your mistake?" Li Jianyue looked like she was about to cry. She whimpered, "I know I was wrong. Your Majesty, please forgive me. I won't dare to do it again." Li Mosen stood on the side, with his hands folded and his head slightly lowered. Su Qianxi could see at a glance that he was playing a little eunuch. Seeing Su Qianxi coming out, Li Jianxian immediately put the quilt down, sat on the bed and said, "My sister forced me to do this." "No, it was my brother who said he wanted to be the emperor." "No, my brother said he wanted to be the emperor." Su Qianxi said, "Su I Qianxi." The 3 little guys immediately ran away. Li Jianxian's shoes were still under the bed. Su Qianxi felt a little helpless and shouted, "Desu shoes!" Li Jianxian immediately opened the door and ran in. He picked up his shoes and ran away. But when he ran to the door, he seemed to remember something and said, "We're the same clothes as us." Not Su Qianxi smiled, "I Li and Su Li." Li Su, and in Li to go. Xiao Xiao Li Su Su He Li tying her hair into a bun. She picked out a pair of white flats and walked out of the room. Chapter 600. Women like to be praised as young, and Su Qianxi was no exception. Smiling and drinking the porridge, she said, "Thank you, Lu Sa." The old man was reading the newspaper with his presbyopic glasses. He was also very satisfied with Su Qianxi's outfit. He smiled and said, "Go to the amusement park today. Take care of the children. You look like a child. Don't be cheated." "Of course not." Su Qianxi ate breakfast, not caring. "If I am so easily cheated, how can I manage the Li group?" This was the truth. But now this truth could not be used by the old man. The old man looked at her and said, "It's hard to say. You have 3 children. You didn't ask a man to go with you. Fortunately, I found you a helper." As soon as he said that, the doorbell rang. The old man closed the newspaper happily and said, "Speak of the devil, and here he is." Su Qianxi had an ominous feeling in her heart. Swallowing the last mouthful of porridge, she looked at the door. Lu Sa went to open the door, and there stood a tall and thin figure. Louis Han did not wear glasses today. His peach blossom eyes looked bright and energetic, and his facial features were distinct. He was wearing a loose, simple black and white striped t-shirt and fashionable light blue jeans. He looked indescribably handsome. The 3 children saw Louis Han coming in, looked up and said in unison, "Hello, Uncle Lu." Louis Han heard their shouts, walked over, and rubbed their little heads. "Hello, are you ready?" "Yes." Li Jianrui was the most excited. "You see, I am not wearing a dress today. I am wearing the same as Uncle." Li Jianrui was wearing a small camisole with a small black and white striped top. Not only Li Jianrui, but also Li Jianxian and Li Mosen were wearing the same clothes. Su Qianxi glanced at her own clothes and felt it was particularly dazzling. What she was wearing was similar to Louis Han's. She was the one who bought the parent-child outfit, and the 3 little guys were wearing the same clothes. With Louis Han's outfit, it was like a family of 5. Su Qianxi suddenly felt embarrassed and looked at Grandpa. The old man very cleverly covered his face with the newspaper and even clicked his tongue in wonder. "Sigh, the morals of the world are getting worse by the day. There are actually people who rob and kill on the streets. It's too scary. Little Lu, I'll leave Chanqian and the children to you today. You must protect them well." "Okay." Louis Han squatted down and picked Li Jianyue up. "I will complete the task with honor." Su Qianxi felt uncomfortable. She should have thought of it. The amusement park turned out to be Captain Li's idea. Holding her forehead, she did not know how to face Louis Han. She said, "I suddenly remembered that I have something else to do today. Should we go another day?" "Is Mom still busy?" Li Jianyue widened her eyes and pouted. But I really want to go to the amusement park. Mom, can you take me there?" "Chanqian, we've been waiting for you for so long. How long has it been since you went out with the kids? You just work all day and spend more time with the child." Captain Li covered his face with the newspaper, not daring to look at Su Qianxi. "Grandpa." Su Qianxi was a little angry. Although she knew that Grandpa was doing it for her own good, she couldn't help but feel a little disgusted. She knew how Louis Han treated her. Chapter 601. Grandpa had set a trap for her and was waiting for her to fall into it. Didn't he know that she would feel awkward and guilty? Captain Li pretended not to hear and said to Li Jianxian, "You must not run around. You must listen to Mom and take good care of your sister. Do you understand?" Li Jianxian nodded and nodded again. "I know, Great-Grandpa. I will take good care of my sister." "Me too." Li Mosen did not want to fall behind, and Li Jianyue was in Louis Han's arms. She directly put her arms around Louis Han's neck, looked at Su Qianxi and said, "Mom, are you still not full?" He looked at her and smiled. "Let's go." She did not want to go, did not want to go, did not want to go. However, when he saw Li Jianyue's expectant expression, he couldn't bear to disappoint her. Li Jianxian trotted to the dining room, pulled Su Qianxi's hand and said, "Mom, let's go." Su Qianxi was pulled up by Li Jianxian and walked out. Shuangyu followed them silently, holding Li Mosen's hand. Soon they got on the RV together. Today was the weekend, so Yang's driver didn't have to work. Louis Han consciously sat in the driver's seat, and Su Qianxi and Shuangyu went to the back with the 3 little guys. The 3 little guys sat on the sofa, one on the left and one on the right, with an iPad in the middle. Li Jianyue squatted in the middle and stared at them playing games. Su Qianxi leaned back on the sofa, feeling a bit distressed. The swan necklace on her neck was shining brightly. She reached out and grasped it. She couldn't help but think of what he looked like that day. His heart ached. However, there was nothing she could do. Looking at the roof of the car for a long while, she picked up her phone and called Li Jinan. Li Jinnan was working overtime at the moment. Seeing that it was Su Qianxi, he immediately answered. Uncle. Yes. How did you handle that matter? Li Jinnan was silent for a moment and said, I'm planning and preparing. You can live as before. Leave the rest to me, sister-in-law. Do you have any new information? Yes. Su Qianxi's eyes lit up, and she immediately sat up straight. What news? Leave it to me, second sister-in-law. Aren't you taking the children to the amusement park today? Have fun. Brother-in-law. She still wanted to say something, but he had already hung up. She felt a little discouraged, thinking that she would have to take care of the 3 children with Lu Yihan. She felt even more anxious. Looking at the children, Li Jianxian was particularly good at the game, and from time to time, Li Mosin let out a cry of surprise. Li Jianyue didn't know what Li Mosin was exclaiming about, but when she saw the look of awe on his face, she cooperated and opened her eyes wide. Although Li Jianxian despised Li Jianyue, the feeling of being worshipped like this was very good. Soon, they arrived at the gate of the amusement park. Lu Yihan parked the car and took the children out. Today was the weekend, so the amusement park was crowded with people. Li Jianyue held Su Qianxi's hand and looked at the people and children inside. Wow, there are so many people. Let's go. Uncle will show you around. Lu Yihan picked Li Jianyue up and walked inside. Li Jianxian and Li Mosin also seemed a little excited, chasing each other as they ran inside. Shuangyu followed closely, for fear of losing him. Su Qianxi fell behind, a little distressed. What the 6 people did not notice was that there was always a white sports car following behind their car. Just after they stopped, a simple and tall figure also parked the car and followed silently. He was still wearing a dark gray short-sleeved t-shirt, which outlined all the lines of his body, a pair of simple washed jeans, and a pair of simple and refreshing canvas shoes. He wore a big cap on his head and big sunglasses on his face. His flaxen hair covered his ears, revealing only a sapphire cross earring. He came and did not disturb anyone. However, after seeing the clothes they were wearing, his eyes under the sunglasses were colder and deeper. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.